You're listening to the Death Rattle Crew, a Hearthstone podcast.
DRC, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 12 of the Death Rattle Crew. I'm your host, Mike Tactoo Horn. Hearn, not Heron. Hearn. Yes, exactly. And I'm joined by Matt Mushu. Hill, how you doing, sir?
Good evening. I'm well. I am definitely well.
You're tired. I think you stayed up late last night.
Yeah, it was a long night and then a long day today. But it means in Australia tomorrow it's a public holiday, so I've got all of tomorrow to sleep in because in Australia we don't like to miss our days off. So anytime a public holiday falls on like a Saturday or a Sunday, it gets boosted to the Monday. So yeah, so I don't know how that is in like your part of the world, but we don't lose our public holidays. we fight for them. We fight for our days off every year.
It depends on who you work for.
Okay.
Yeah, so some companies are like, holidays? Nah, ain't nobody got time for that. But yeah, so that to say, people are wondering, why'd you stay up late? Are you just a crazy, what's the term when you stay up all night?
Just like a night owl or something?
Something like that.
Just a crack addict. It's like, that's what I do on my my Saturday nights. Just grind Hearthstone until the wee AMs of the morning, which I have done on some Saturday nights. But no,
yeah,
I was involved in an incredible production known as The Pit.
The Pit, yeah. So if you haven't already seen it, it's going to be, well, when this podcast come out, it'll probably have already been streamed, but you can find the VOD on our YouTube channel. Just search Death Rattle Crew, and it's The Pit 1. So that'll be on there for those of you interested. It was a really fun time. We saw a lot of really cool plays. I still, that double rag game, that was something epic. I won't ruin anything.
Don't spoil. Yeah, we'll say there was a game with 2 Ragnaroses.
Yeah.
There are definitely I think at some point we should throw together like an abridged highlight reel. So
yeah,
if you don't have the time to watch all the games, you can just watch like the most ridiculous plays. And there were some, and that's really what I was looking to get out of, just some like ridiculously memorable plays, some good plays, misplays, some brilliant RNG, some shit RNG, but yeah, it was a nice, well-rounded package. Except I think unless you were Fabio, he seemed like he was deteriorating quite quickly last night.
Well, he actually stayed up late the night before partying.
So he's
a bit of party animal.
He is a machine.
He is.
He's just
partying, Hearthstone tournaments. I mean, the full package. So all that to say, we're going to talk about the tournament, but we'll save it for the last segment, and we'll give you a heads up. If for those of you who don't like spoilers, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. You can just stop the podcast there. But we'll go ahead and get into Meta Anatomy and talk about the cards released this week from BRM. Welcome to Meta Anatomy, your one weekly stop for everything meta in Hearthstone. I'm Tac2, joined by Mushu, and we're going to talk about the cards. 7 released from BRM, Blackrock Mountain, this week, and we'll just start from the top. Mage, we have a 2/4 for 3 Flamewalker. After you cast a spell, deal 2 damage, randomly split among all enemies. Yeah. That's how I feel about this one.
It's good. It's good because it makes it contributes to this whole like new emerging mage archetype of this like tempo style mage where you can play cards and get bonus effects, I suppose. So obviously the Flamewalker gets value really when you play other things, and so I guess secrets, Frostbolt, that sort of thing. It's good fun. I've seen like a few pro players, particularly Savich is a big, I guess, advocate of this being really good. But obviously, we're in a part where no one's sort of like figured out what would make up the deck. But it's definitely a part. It's going to be a part of it. So there are big things in the future of this. So think of think of it like as a knife juggler for spells, but you get two. You get two jugglers. You just get and you get a bigger body. Obviously, it costs more mana, but yeah. So knife juggler for spells, which sounds pretty sick in my mind.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one played yet. Again, I think it's another card that's going to be great in Arena. But as far as ladder or tournament play, I just haven't envisioned a deck with combinations that I think synergize really well with each other. That's not to say that Mage obviously doesn't have enough spells, but I don't know.
I get where you're coming from. It just feels
It's
like
tough.
a sort of a bit of an afterthought.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, this is cool, but I'm not going to like center my entire play around trying to get these two damages.
Right.
I guess it sort of comes off as like a that there'd be pretty good synergy in the like more of a, I guess, a tempo secret kind of mage where you could have this on the board and play something like the Kirin Tor dude that makes the secrets free.
Yeah.
And that would be really cool because you're getting a body, a secret, and 2 random damage. I mean, that's obviously required quite a setup, but it's still value. It's a really good situation.
My other thought, are we going to see this like Arcane Missiles or Arcane Explosion make a comeback? I mean,
no,
not even, because my thought is, all right, so you have to play this. If you're playing this early, you're playing it, pretty much just completely barren and bald. You've got to wait for your next turn to, say turn 4 to get any use of it, unless you pull it late. But I don't know if this is a card you necessarily want to pull late, unless you're playing against an aggro deck and they've got a bunch of, like Face Hunter, it's probably still okay because you can, erase some Wolf Riders or something off the board. But I don't. Is it just the big minions? Like, are you? I don't know. Like a turn 10, maybe this is good with a Flame Strike. If you've got a bunch of minions and then like a 4/5 Yeti or something on the board, there's a chance you'll kill the Yeti. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I think it's very sort of like, it's obviously a very mid-range focusing card, and it sort of starts to like deteriorate around turn 9 and 10. But like, I think from the time that it's played up until turn 8, you'll get there's a good chance to get good value, particularly because there's 4 health. So you're looking to at least absorb like a decently sized minion, like a Yeti or something, that'll have to hit it, or anything played, I guess, turn 4 onwards could hit it.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a combo card. Playing it naked on turn 3 is a bit, I guess, risky, but obviously if you can set up for like a few like spells next turn, particularly if you have something turn 4, you can go into like, I don't know, like a secret, or as you say, a Frostbolt and something else. And,
okay.
And that's all. I think the best thing to do with this, could you imagine like something like playing this on 3 and then coining something on turn 4? It's like to get, I guess, because the coin would count, and you have the 2. So the coin, if you haven't already coined into this, it might be something like that. But I think the sort of play that sticks out in my mind is this, and then the Kirin Tor lady, and then a free secret on turn 4. And the 2 extra damage. That's where it sort of seems like it could be able to grasp a good amount of tempo.
Okay.
Because you can double tap like a knife juggler or something and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is possibilities, but it's not a Dr. Boom. It doesn't have to be in your deck.
Yeah.
Is what it sort of feels like at the moment.
I'm glad it has 4 health at least. Like we're saying, you have to, if you're playing it early, you're gonna have to play it bald, but it'll probably survive.
Maybe
maybe do a trade. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a pretty fair card. I haven't seen this energy, and I know once someone plays it and has it in a deck, we'll be like, oh god, why? That's so obvious. Why didn't we think of that?
it's so obvious. This thing is great.
Yeah.
That generally happens.
Right. Well, we'll go on to the next one. Is it the Dark Iron Skulker? It's a 4/3 for 5 battle cry. Deal 2 damage to all undamaged enemy minions. It's a rogue card. That's rogue anti-aggro right there.
Well, it's like anti-aggro on turn 5, and I think it's too late by then. Like, obviously, it I don't know, turn 4, if you coin into this, it sort of gets better. But
Sure.
I think it's going to be a good arena card.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think we said this before. You want to try and escape the whole notion of cards are being made just for constructed. It's possible that I don't think Blizzard has explicitly said it, but they haven't explicitly said that they're just making cards for constructed. They could completely make a card with the intent of just being a good arena pick. And I think this definitely takes good value in arena.
Yeah.
Because it's removal and a body. It's just like what more could you want in arena?
Yeah.
And it's only a rare, so it's not even like that hard to come by in arena, I suppose. Well, it's above average,
Somewhat.
but yeah.
It's
doable.
It's harder than Flame Strike for some reason, Blizzard. I'm an advocate of changing Blizzard's or the Flame Strike's rarity.
Yeah.
I'm one of those folks.
Well, not even like the rarity, just like change it in arena. It just seems you have the statistics there. We know what they are, and we know mages are ridiculous.
Yeah.
In arena. For anyone listening who doesn't know why mages are ridiculous in arena, it's because all the really good mage cards, things like Frostbolt, Fireball, and Flame Strike, are part of the basic set, and thus don't have a rarity, so they occur more often in the draft.
Yeah.
And so you can pick up these really good cards more often, and thus that makes Mage a more stable pick in arena. So if you want to win more games, pick Mage.
Because nothing is as fun as playing against a Mage with 4 Fireballs and 5 Frostbolts. That was one game. I remember that game.
It's that, yeah. Needed a new monitor after that game. It's just foot through
exactly
screen.
Left foot through it. So I mean, any other thoughts in this card? I'm trying to think. Tempo Mage, if there's ever a comeback, do we think this will be in it?
By Tempo Mage, you mean Tempo Rogue?
Rogue. I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hey.
No, maybe, but I don't think so. It just doesn't seem
too slow.
Like that good. So yeah, for 5 mana. So 5 mana, you're sort of approaching turns where things have 4 and 5 health, and it only hits once they're undamaged. So you're only going to kill things that have sort of left over from turns 1, 2, and 3, or maybe it like I suppose in like a directly anti-zoo matchup, you could clear some tokens, but if you play this against I suppose an Imp Gang boss, it's going to miss the Imp Gang boss, and it's just the 3 health makes it a bit too not much of a body. If it was a 4/4,
oh yeah.
I suppose if we make this card better, it inevitably gets better. So I feel,
if Shaman's ever a thing, I think this card will be solid in a rogue deck.
If Shaman is ever solid, this thing will be in a rogue because totems.
Okay,
yeah.
I mean, not to say that Shamans are horrible, but they're not top tier, quote.
It's like, this is the perfect time to segue onto the Fire Guard Destroyer.
Yeah, there we go. Yes, so that's a 3/6 for 4. Battle Cry, gain 1 to 4 attack and overload 1. So,
I think this is a fantastic card.
Yeah. The overload's not. One overload's not a big deal, especially since we have the new Lava Shock. I'm not really worried about that anymore. And yeah, even if you're, a 4/6 for 4 is not bad. A 7/6 for 4 is amazing, except for BGH. In my opinion, you want a 6/6. That's I think the goal.
6/6 is excellent. So what's the average? The average is like 5.5 attack? Because it's
something like that.
1
yeah.
plus 2 plus 3 is 6. Plus 4 is 10. Divided by 4 is 2.5. So yeah, on average, it's going to have 5.5 attack, which makes it. It depends how you rate it. Like, so it's like on my screen, I've actually got it next to Hungry Dragon. So it's like quite a good comparison because this and one of the other cards that conveniently came out this week was Hungry Dragon. And so, which is a 4 mana 5/6 Battle Cry, summon a random 1-cost minion for your opponent. And so this Shaman's probably the only deck that you couldn't play, or you wouldn't want to play Hungry Dragon in because of the Fire Guard Destroyer. Because I think it's easier, it's much better, it plays much better because you're not giving your opponent anything aside from a mana advantage, which isn't that massive anyway. Particularly if you roll 6/6 on turn 4, and if you've coined this or something, it's just brutal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Turn 3, 6/6. Oof. Ooh,
and
ooh.
even if you hit even if you roll low and hit 1, and it's still bigger than a Yeti, it's still
right.
So I think it's a really good card for Shaman, and it's sort of, we might see some more Shaman. Well, I guess it sort of helps out that Shaman Co, because they didn't have a 4-drop before, did they?
Well, I'm trying to think about that. The last turn 5, you do not really want to overload, because turn 6 you want to play your oh goodness, why can't I think of it? It's like the best card.
The Fire Elemental.
Fire Elemental, thank you. You want to play that on turn 6 if you can. It's kind of like playing a high main when you're Hunter on turn 6. So
it's a good time to jump into things and be like, turn 4, turn 5 is turn 4 again, and then turn 6.
Sure.
Fire Elemental.
Right. Yeah, I think it fits nicely, and Shaman needed some help because all they had were, I don't want to call them gimmicky decks, but it was kind of like, the Mech Mage, Bloodlust. It was kind of, well, I kind of hope I get board control and get lucky on my totem rolls.
Yeah, it fills a pretty big hole in the Shaman lineup because they've got things like Junemore Shaman, Siltfin, Spirit Walker, and Windspeaker, all which the Dune Mole Shaman, I think, is the best of those three. The one is the 5/4 Ogre that has Wind Fury and Overload. So sometimes, like, if you can turn 5, you can hit for 10 to face if you get lucky. But other than that, these other cards are quite, as we say, gimmicky. The Siltfin, obviously the synergy with the Murlocs, and then Windspeaker is a good arena card. Giving things Wind Fury is always nice.
Yeah.
But this is Fire Guard Destroyer is a very solid card, and it's also just like a common card, so it's going to be a great arena card. So it's going to be good fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think very solid Shaman card. Hopefully we'll see more Shamans because of it, because filling in that curve, that's all I really want to see out of this card. Is I don't have anything bad to say about this card. I don't think it's just a good card.
No, if it was Overloaded 2, I probably wouldn't like it as much. Of course, that's all saying if you nerf the card,
to make this card worse,
yeah,
it's worse.
No, I think it's fair. I think it's because even if you do roll super high, it's got a counter. In the meta currently, it has a counter.
And even if that does happen, I don't think you feel too sad about getting this. If you roll 7 in their BGH, obviously it's a pretty big shock to your tempo, but I think it's not too bad, because assuming if you curve out, if we curve out perfectly, like in subsequent turns, on turn 6, Fire Elemental, turn 7, Dr. Boom, and then where's their big game hunter now?
Right.
Haha.
Right. And I also, if this is silenced, a 3/6 is still fine on the board, I think.
Yeah, dude, if it eats a silence, it's the same thing as being, it's better than, obviously it's a similar thing to being BGH. It's absorbed one of their cards.
Right.
For something that's sort of like, it's a good card. It's like, it's just a really solid card. It's like, it's fair. That's the thing. Like, obviously there are times, I think what you have to think about is, like, on average, it's fair, because on average it has 5.5 attack for 6 mana, for 6 health, sorry, and then a 4 mana cost. So
yeah. Okay, so that's
Hungry Dragon is next.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead? Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about. Let me pull it up here. Here we go. Hungry Dragon, a 5/6 for 4. Battle Cry. Summon a random 1-cost minion for your opponent, and it is part of the Dragon tribe. I really, really, really like this card a lot. I like this card.
I think the idea of, like, the summon the 1-cost minion is because I think on average you'll end up with a minion that has 2 attacks. So if you trade that into it, it'll have 4 health. But yeah, I've heard a couple of my friends have been complaining that this is hard to remove, which it just feels like for a turn 4 thing, it's a really sticky minion, because 6 health is ridiculous. And particularly if they roll low. If they roll like a Shield Bearer or something, it's just not a fun time.
No.
Because, like, the pool of one drops is I think that mostly have 2 health. There's I don't know if you can get do we know if you can get one drops that aren't of your class, like you could get like a web spinner or something. I assume you could.
I would imagine there's nothing that says, but Blizzard also doesn't kind of list all that out
explicitly say because I guess like it's so it's probably like a little bit average of a little bit less than one attack to attack, but then you get things like Dust Devil. If you got a Dust Devil, oh my god, I want that. I want to be on the receiving end of that. Just get my Dust Devil out and just start wrecking people for free.
This will be in the Dragon deck, I think, definitely.
Yes, it's you don't even have to say it. People just nod. It's like Dragon,
yeah.
Hungry Dragon.
How do we feel about this being the even before Nax, Yeti was kind of like the 4-drop. That's what you put in your decks mostly. Here there depending. But do we feel like this has replaced? Is this going to be good in any deck? I mean, those stats. You're giving your opponent a 1-cost minion, and obviously, I think you have to think about when you play this, because the last thing you want to do is have a board ready to hit face, and you play this and you give them a taunt. It's like, oh, well, damn! Now there goes my damage.
I think even if you give them a taunt, I don't think there's not enough 1-cost taunts for it to be like a concern, because I think there's one. I think
it's the Shield Bearer, right?
There's 2. There's Goldshire Footman.
Oh yes,
who's the 1/2. There's Shield Bearer. And that looks like it is it. But it's well worth it.
Yeah, what's the downside then? I mean, what do you not want to give them?
A Zombie Chow. You don't want to give them a Zombie Chow. Flame Imp is also a very big 1-drop. And I guess that's sort of what boosts the 1-drop average a little bit. I assume the minions wouldn't get their battle cry, so getting something like Argent Squire would be pretty rolling pretty low. There's not a huge downside to this. I guess the only real downside is if you're playing this into something, giving it the 1-drop increases the likelihood that your opponent will be able to trade for it next turn. But I suppose that's just part of it being fair. So this card is pretty good on as a turn 4 drop, but I also think it gets better later in the game, because there's more likely that you can follow up with something to kill the 1-cost minion that you gave. So if you play this, if you play Dragon Consort on turn 5, and then next turn on turn 6, you get a 3-mana one of these and do something else like Master. I don't know. It's just it's just a good card. The battle cry is it's quite. I feel like it's an inconsequential effect. Yeah, obviously there are times where it can be worse and times where it can be better. Shield Bearer, that sort of thing. But for the most part, you're gonna have a fun time because you're getting a 5/6 body. It's just a 5/6 body. It's just.
I'm thinking like Paladin turn 7, Dragon Consort, and this on the same turn. That's gonna be dirty.
Yeah, that would
5/5 and 5/6. So dirty.
Oh, it's
just rub myself in it. So dirty.
Yeah, it's
yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything else to say. It's just going to be a solid card. I think that's my impression.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's nice to see this week. Well, there are cards. It's not like even there's like a huge amount of depth here. It's just like these cards are just obviously good or obviously bad. There's no sort of like. Maybe there is, because we look at. We just want to move on to Revenge, because that's
we go ahead and go to that. So
2-cost warrior card, deal 1 damage to all minions. If you have 12 or less health, deal 3 damage instead.
Yeah, so anti-aggro, we're thinking. Yeah, I mean, and this does set up potential, removals like executes as well. Is there room for this? What is it? Grim Patron. Let's just go ahead and go there.
I was envisioning some brutal circumstance in a Grim Patron mirror match where you've rolled low and they're wrecking you with their Grim Patrons, and then you draw into this, and it just kills all their Grim Patrons because you have 11 HP, and it's just like turns the tide of the game completely. It's just it's basically like think of a big whirlwind. Like if you get the secondary effect. Other than that, I think it's not like a particularly good card. Like if you're not using it for the 3 damage, because otherwise it's just a really expensive whirlwind.
Yeah, twice as much. So you think the 2's too much? I'm trying to think how many times like I was in a situation where I needed that 1 mana. For the whirlwind.
Well, it's sort of like you get a cheeky Grommash. Like it puts, if this is your only enabler for Grommash, then it puts you back a turn to turn 10. So the problem with Revenge is once again I can envision it being quite a good arena card because having these random cards and random effects of arena is all about the madness and fun that is arena. But in constructed, it's a little bit, I guess, weak because the 2 main archetypes of warrior at the moment are obviously on one end you've got control warrior, the time tested giant, which doesn't need this card because I guess you could run it as a one-off, but like I think a lot of the time I was
thinking about that.
Yeah, there could be an argument if you're playing nothing but like Grim Patron warrior, and so the beauty of a warrior is the armor isn't counted as health. For those of you who don't know, weren't aware of that. So if you get down to 11 and you have 30 armor and you have 41 effective health, you can still use this card for 3 damage. So I think there are circumstances where you could use this as a one-of. I think a one-of late game in a control warrior would actually be okay. Because there are some times where you just draw so shit, and by turn 6 you're on 15 health and getting lower and getting lower and getting lower against something like Zoo, and you top deck Revenge, and you might feel good. You might be able to. That might be the thing you need, because by that time you're not going to really gain any more HP. But what you are going to start doing is you're going to get your shield maidens out and get your +5 armor, and maybe even shield block later in the game. So yeah, I think maybe a one-of in a control warrior. In Grim Patron, it's just counterintuitive because it's more expensive than Whirlwind, and the bonus effect kills all your patrons. It's just everybody dies.
Everybody die in here.
Everybody get dead in here. Revenge is going to kill us all.
I like that we have more options.
What just inside the warrior warrior class is just these 2 distinct. It's been something that's very nice, and I'm so happy to see over this past I guess week and a bit is like you've got the whole divided camps between the 2 really popular ones were the Charky Grim Patron and the Forsen Grim Patron. And the popular opinion seems to be that the Charky one is a little more sound, and then the Forsen one is a little more abstract. But I guess that's sort of how Forsen plays. Right. Fit your play style. Choose the deck, whatever floats your boat, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, it's great to see another warrior type in competitive play. It makes it less stale.
Yo, definitely.
Warrior. Oh, it's control warrior. This isn't going to be any fun. Yeah. And one thing that has been quite fun has been playing ladder as freeze mage and queuing into warrior, and it's not like an instant concede, because it's just like in past warrior, as we all know, warrior versus freeze mage is usually like an 80-20 in the warrior favor because of the armor gaining thing. It's really hard to kill them as a freeze mage. We have a finite amount of damage. Right. So there's a pretty good chance, I'd say close to 50-50, 1 in 2 chance of it being a Grim Patron warrior, and freeze mage just wrecks Grim Patron because you freeze them, and even though things like Blizzard are going to proc more, you can control it to the point where their board is full, and then that's where you just sort of blow them away in the face. But yeah, Revenge isn't going to see playing Grim Patron warrior, and probably some people will probably test it here and there. Probably an arena, it's an okay card.
Yeah, I definitely think that.
Because you don't. the reason it's okay in Arena is because you're not guaranteed a choice of Whirlwind. You might never see a Whirlwind in your draft, and picking this up might be the thing that gets you from 11 wins to 12 wins.
I want to like this card more because it gives you options, but I think it's the fact that it does 3 damage to everything, not just your enemy minions, is what limits my love for this card. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like we'll buff it and change it to 15. I think 15 health seems more reasonable. But as you say, you make a card better, it gets better.
Sure.
I've said that about 4 times already, and it's going to keep saying it because listen to these potential buffs. I don't know. I think, yeah, they probably don't want it to see no play whatsoever. I guess you could probably correlate the average rank with the amount of revenge play and just see it taper off as you get closer and closer to rank 1 in Legend. It's just like, no. It's could be a fun card, I think, in Arena. Same thing with the Dark Iron Skulker. It just feels like a fun. It feels like a fun card.
Yeah.
And that's and yeah. So we've got to remember that it's not all about the competitive scene.
Not always, right?
There are other players in here who like to play the game and like to have these little effects.
Yeah.
Speaking of little effects, Demon Ray.
Yes. Look at you in these segues today. You're killing it. It's a 3 mana Warlock spell card, and it reads deal 2 damage to all non-demon minions.
It's like they ran out of ideas, and I feel like there's a bit of a overlap between this card and Dark Iron Skulker. It's like I guess it's very aligned with the 2 decks archetype, because obviously the idea in Rogue is things like it's only backstab, I'm pretty sure, does 2 damage to an undamaged minion, and then Warlock is all about the demons, doesn't do 2 damage to demons. I think there could be some sort of weird zoo demon thing that this could be used in.
Yeah, sure.
But it's not. We've been validating some of these cards as being good arena cards. This is not a good arena card.
No, I agree. I'm trying to think, like, our typical demon handlock. Do we already have enough removal? Like, would you trade this out for a demon fire? Is that the right? We're getting so many cards now. Hellfire. I'm sorry, Hellfire.
So demon. Hellfire.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't think anyone runs Demon Fire to begin with. Probably.
It's 1 less damage, but is that
one less mana?
Yeah.
And you're not hitting yourself in the face. I think it sort of moves away from the. If you notice with a lot of the Warlock things, and particularly the Demon Lock things, a lot of the spells are somewhat masochistic. That you're inflicting pain to yourself for added benefits. Like in the Demon Lock, you had your Haunted Creepers or your Nerubian eggs and stuff like that, because you could use Hellfire to kill their board and proc you more stuff. The fact is here, it's skipping that. I guess you could sort of, I think the only real time that you could see this used is in some sort of zoo Demon Lock type thing. So like all like zoo cards, like the low cost minions like Voidwalker, Flame Imp, that sort of thing together, and you play this on turn 3 against, it would have to be against like another aggro deck. I think it's just got a very sort of limited ability.
Yeah.
Quite small. Not too much depth, but it doesn't particularly feel like it doesn't fly off the shelf. Basically, if you had to buy these cards one by one, this card wouldn't even sell at a high price. It's just like, everyone's diving into the stores, punching each other out to get their Fire Guard Destroyers and Hungry Dragons. Yeah. Meanwhile, Demon Wrath is just sitting there. It's just nobody wants to buy it. It's
oh, poor Demon Wrath.
Yeah,
I can't think of a deck that I would want to run this in. Because I feel like even your handlock, your demon, we'll just go there, Demon Lock, that best case scenario. I feel like there's enough removal already. Unless I'm seeing a bunch of Face Hunter then the meta calls for this. This might be a better choice because then you're not doing 3 damage to your stuff and your face.
But even then, it's like it's a little bit lame because Face Hunter, we all know, it doesn't have much board presence. It's just sort of like hit and run kind of minions.
That's true. That's very true.
And I think that's what makes Hellfire so strong. Is it has that, I guess, the synergy with the decks that are constructed around it. So you can sort of like go do 2 things at once, proc your things while killing their things. And this doesn't kill your things, which is a little bit annoying. Granted, we're sort of getting to a point where there are enough low cost demons that this could be, you could try this out, but the biggest thing that kills this for me is like the Death of Blood Imp.
You're right.
Yeah. So what have we got? We've got Flame Imp, Voidwalker, Mistress of Pain, Succubus, and those are 4 minions under 2 and under. And then you've got Felguard, Imp Gang Boss, Void Terror. So it doesn't seem like you have enough minions, I guess. It's just occurred in my brain that things like Nerubian Egg and Horned Creeper aren't demons. So you could this procs Nerubian Egg. This is it's coming into my head now. It's like this is slowly getting better because it does proc Nerubian Egg. It's sort of like a mini Hellfire. Again, exactly what we were saying before, but now I sort of have justification as it being giving you. So it's got those masochistic tendencies after all.
I still wouldn't play it in Zoo though, because I'm trying to think what everything's so low health anyway. Most of your cards are going to be low health anyway. So if the dream is a turn 2, drop your Nerubian Egg, turn 3. Demon Wrath this, get your 4/4 and potentially kill something on their side of the board. But that's it. Because that's the dream, but if you don't get the dream, you've played... Well, let's think about it. I mean, you might have an Abusive Sergeant on the board. I'm trying to think of minions that would not be of the demon type.
You're not playing this if you turn 1... If you like coined into Knife Juggler and turn 2, played Nerubian Egg, you're not playing Demon Wrath on turn 3. But if you do go something like Voidwalker or Flame Imp, sorry, and then go Nerubian Egg and then play this on 3, then that's in a Zoo mirror. That's sometimes enough just to win the game.
Okay,
right
sure,
there
mirror.
It's because those first 2-3 turns in Zoo are the most crucial. It's slowly been changing because of cards like of Implosion give Zoo a chance to get back into it against itself, another Zoo, because of the fact that you can kill things while summoning things, and that's the big thing.
So are we thinking a one of if you were to run this in a Zoo or a Demon Lock, if you were going to run it?
Yeah, I don't think you can really
pull out a Hellfire, and so you have 1 Hellfire, 1 Demon Wrath. Yeah, I'm assuming you're running 2 Hellfires.
Well, you look at putting 2 in here, and so obviously drawing 2 of these at the start of the game is really.
Yeah, well, because you're running Shadow Flame too. Well, some people run it just 1 of. I'm trying to think what my Demon Lock does. I feel like there's a lot of AoE removal already. But
yeah, and this, I guess this is a different type again of removal.
Yeah.
So this I think you could argue for this in Zoo. You'd have to change the build a little bit, but you could definitely slot this in Zoo and have 1. You could even have 2, but you'd have to sort of weight it Zoo a bit differently towards I guess more demons at the start, so you'd want to probably put Mistress of Pain or something in there, but I don't think it's going to be that great because there are better 2 drops. I don't think Zoo's that bad at the moment how it is. I don't think you need to mess if it's not broken. You don't need to mess with it.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it could be a pretty good arena card.
Okay, I'm not sold on it, but I'm waiting for someone to show me prove me wrong.
Yeah, it's like, there's actually this amazing combo. And you were wrong all the time.
It's Demon Wrath and Goldshire Footman. It's amazing.
Okay, so I think the dream is turn 1, coin into a Nerubian Egg. They play like they're playing Zoo, and they play like something that's not a demon on turn 1. So they play abusive. They go abusive sergeant, and then turn 2 play knife juggler, and then on your turn 2 you play another ruby egg. And on their turn 3 they play like another knife juggler because they're a fiend and just wrecking you. They think they're wrecking you, and you take, and this knife for some reason hits your face. So they hit you for 6. And then on your turn 3, you play Demon Wrath, and then the game's basically over if it's like aggro deck versus aggro deck at that point.
What about this being a counter to Sharp's Oil Rogue, the ones that run the tokens from your?
I think it's not that tokens
teachers.
aren't that big of a problem in Zoo.
You mean having to deal with them?
Yeah, having to deal with enemy tokens.
Oh, Zoo, correct. Zoo. Yeah, Zoo, yes. Maybe, let's say Demon Lock then. Yeah,
even
I agree.
Demon Lock, tokens
no, you don't think
bad.
so?
And they're sort of like collateral damage from Hellfire or Shadow Flame.
Okay.
There's not really anything in Demon Lock that's going to suffer from being hit by a token.
Like a Violet Teacher token, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing's going to have a too bad of a time, I guess. There's no Divine Shields or anything. There's not any real low health minions, I guess. It's not. So they don't usually get the only time they get a lot of tokens is when they're sort of milling through their spells. And I think you're probably still looking for a Shadow Flame anyway because you want to get rid of the Violet Teacher.
Mm.
So yeah, I think they're a bigger fish to fry in Demon Lock, and that's why you have bigger spells like Hellfire and Shadow Flame.
Okay, well, let me there's 2 more things I'm thinking of. Shaman, again, I feel like this could be potentially another anti-shaman card, but that's not an issue we have right now. Last one. Well, go ahead.
The problem with the Shaman matchup is it doesn't kill the Spirit Wolves.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's sort of a really annoying in Shaman. Totems are totems.
Yeah.
Sure, sometimes it's nice to wipe their board clean, but the situation where you're not going to be able to do that with your own minions is probably a situation where the totems aren't that important.
Yeah. And trying to play this on turn 5 with a Blood Mage, I just would rather play a Blood or a Hellfire, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Last one, then Grim Patron Warrior. I'm thinking Zoo. If you've got a
Grim Patron Warlock.
Yeah, no, not in the Warlock. Playing against a Warrior. Let's say you're playing Zoo, you got a full board. It's turn 8. They drop the Wombo combo. Now they've got a full board. It doesn't kill everything. I guess your Warsong Commander would still be alive, possibly. I guess depending on what's on the board. But we'll just say that there's no Death Rattle effects. It's just that'll be alive, undamaged. And potentially there might be an extra 3/3. So using this, I guess you leave 3/3s. You leave a 2/1, a 3/1, and a 3/3. So is that? We'll just say it was a full board. A Warsong and 6 Grim Patrons it's better, and that would be turn 8. So now it's your turn 8 or turn 9. 3 mana for this, and you've got potentially 5 or 6 mana left. Is that a counter?
No.
Outside of Blood Mage, yeah.
Because it's sort of as we said before, Shadow Flame and Hellfire just feel the role better.
Yeah, Shadow Flame definitely.
And even Hellfire, in that very scenario, anything that's important, which is the patrons, are all going to die to this.
Yeah.
To a Hellfire, and most likely to a Shadow Flame. You can Shadow Flame an Ancient Watcher and kill everything.
Yeah. So go ahead.
It's only really good in some niche sort of Zoo experiences or Arena. I think it could be okay in Arena. It's sort of a bit weird, particularly if you get a draft, because Haunted Creeper drafts quite a bit. It seems might be just the way I'm remembering it, but I always seem to pick up a Haunted Creeper or two. It definitely has its place in Arena, but obviously the later, like a lot of things that are situational in Arena, the later in the draft it comes, the better, because you can make a better decision. You're like,
Sure.
oh, I've got 3 Nerubian eggs and 2 Haunted Creepers. This thing is going to be excellent for me. Whereas I have, 8 1-drops that none of them are demons. This is probably going to be the worst card to draft.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think if the ladder ever gets to a point again, which it probably won't, because the game's getting quite like large now, where it's all zoo on the ladder, because there was a long period of time where Warlock was the most played class on ladder.
Oh, sure.
And it was all zoo, and that was sort of around the time when I ran Hellfire in my zoo deck, because it was such a common matchup, and it was such a good way to flip this table, or even to compensate for a bad mulligan. Yeah, so I can imagine in a situation where the world is nothing but zoo.
No, God.
Demon Wrath.
Oh, God.
It's better than Face Hunter.
That's true. It's very true.
It's interesting how this like sort of tier of cancer themed decks sort of changes, because at one stage Zoo was the scourge of the earth.
Yeah.
And then Face Hunter, and then Mech Mage, and then Zoo disappeared for a month or two. Now it's come like reemerged as the hero of the aggro decks, just smiting the other ones. But yeah, in a world that is not ruled by Zoo, Demon Wrath probably, yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Well, we'll just go on to the last card. It's a legendary 6/8 for 8 Chromagus. Whenever you draw a card, put another copy into your hand. So Warlock turn 10.
Two is better than 1.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
That's all there is. 2 is better than 1. It's not BGHable. It's Ren Black-handable. I can confirm.
Sure.
Ren Blackhand does kill this.
Okay. I do like it doesn't pull from your hand. Or it just copies your hand, so it doesn't pull from your deck. I do like that.
It's we're gonna get these situations when it's Dragon Paladin versus Dragon Paladin. Whoever gets Chromagus wins. Whoever gets Chromagus first wins, because they fatigue less. Well, they have more. They have more resources. They have the extra consecrate that wins them the game. Actually, no, that happened. That happened to me yesterday. He Chromagus, and the next turn he drew consecrate and cleared my board because he got 2 consecrations.
Oh wow, that's dirty.
I think so this is like, I think this is what the consort was pretty close to what it was directly designed for, because it's consequent. It's like, yeah, it's sequential, because turn 5, consort, turn 6, 6 mana Chromagus.
Oh, fantastic!
Thanks for playing. You lose.
Oh,
yeah. I think, yeah. How filthy does that sound?
Extremely. I like that. I haven't built my dragon, Paladragon. What do we call it?
Dragonin.
Dragonin. Thank you.
Dragonin.
Yes, I've not built it yet. I need to. I feel like we've got enough for the cards now. So what other classes do we think this Druid? Is this a potential Druid card? Is a Druid already too slow for this?
I don't think it helps that much in Druid.
Okay.
Like, I guess there's a situation where you could get like 2 Savage Roars, and that would be brutal. But for the most part, I don't think turn 8, or even if you ramp, I suppose it gets better as you ramp. But once again, whenever you cheat the mana curve, anything that's more expensive gets better because it's played earlier. I don't think it's like that good. I guess it adds to the things that you like to see when your Sneed's Old Shredder dies.
Oh, sure.
Like, sometimes you just, want to end your life because a Thalanos pops out, or a Nat Pagel. It's like, can I have another roll, please? Just take it back. I don't want it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't see it having a huge amount of use outside of like the dragon archetype. Maybe in something like, It's just so like cheesy, isn't it? It's just as you said, Warlock turn 10. Warlock turn 10 is like a very sort of ridiculous spot for it to be in because that's just filthy.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was like you tapped into Jiraxis.
You face two Jiraxis.
You get two Jiraxises. It's just the possibilities are endless in that, and I think that's what makes it hilarious. It could be fine to play some Warlock. We could just be wrong, and this is like the Doctor Boom. It's a state. All the pro players are like, no. What are you talking about? This is amazing. You have to play this.
Yeah,
and we're just sort of like going, really?
I do like that it has 6 attack. That's fantastic.
Yeah, no, they're like, we've got to stop making things that can be BGH.
Yeah. Plug the hole, please.
Yeah, please stop. I think if this did have 7 attack and Dragon Paladin like took off 2 BGHs in every deck, it's just sort of 1 for Boom, 1 for Chromagus. It's just. But it's a good card. It's a playable card. I think that's the main.
Sure.
It's no Ren Black Hand.
So you mean it's not as good of a card? Is that what you're...
Yeah, it's no. Yeah, good card at all.
Poor Rend. I'm pulled him back up again. That poor guy. We saw him played in the tournament, so that was, and we actually saw him get his battle cry off. That was a first for me. I have not seen anyone play it yet.
Hang on, I've got to check the flavor text. I got to check the flavor text. It's just where are we? Oh wait, I need to go 7+.
Eating ramen again. Left head and right head can never agree about what to eat for dinner, so they always end up just eating ramen again.
That's really lame.
Yeah,
that is really lame.
I guess when the card's good, the flavor text has to be bad. That's again going back to Ren and Blackhand, kind of bad card, great flavor text.
Wow, I accidentally just read the Majordomo Executus flavor text by accident because it's next to it. It's like you thought Executus turned you into Ragnaros, but really Ragnaros was in you the whole time.
That's
pretty
deep.
Good.
That's deep.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, Chromagus, for those of you playing at home, is features. I suppose Nefarian explains this that he's a creation of Nefarian, and features parts of all of the dragonflights into this mega dragon monster with 2 heads, I suppose.
When did we fought him in World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah, he was quite a notorious boss because of the mechanics, and it's sort of like shit. I didn't do this fight in vanilla, but I remember trying to solo it later and having trouble because of the way there's like a debuff or something that stacks and it makes your casting slow or something. Basically, it's the boss mechanics with the duplication thing is related to, or the way that you get 2 cards with his mechanic is related to the boss mechanics in the game. So it's like a sort of, when I read this, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds like something Chromagus would do, duplicate something.
Yeah.
He does it was something really annoying. Cannot remember. We need some, hopefully one of our listeners is a hardcore vanilla WoW fan and knows what Chromagus went on. If you know, tell us.
Yeah, I never did that fight, so I don't know.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, so he was in obviously in the Blackwing Lair Red.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, so that's all the cards for this week.
It was a good week. I think definitely good.
I felt last week was a little soft, but this week was pretty solid. I think the heroes were Hungry Dragon and potentially Chromagus. Those are solid pickups for our new Dragadin Paladin.
Yeah, it sort of pushes Dragadin towards viability because they get 2 Hungry Dragons and a Chromagus. 3 more dragons to be abused.
Yeah. Oh shoot! I'm just gonna build this. I guess later today. Give it a try. Give it the old 1-2.
The real cancer, the dragon in cancer.
That's right. All right. Well, so that's this week's Meta Anatomy. We'll go ahead. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and go into tournament talk. So if you have not seen the tournament and you want to see it without having any spoilers, just go ahead and we'll see you next week. But otherwise, stay tuned. We will be right back to talk about The Pit 1. DRC would like to thank Brainiacs for their support of this podcast. If you have a tech idea for improving your business's workflow, Brainiacs can provide a turnkey solution to specifically fit your needs. You can contact them at www.brainiux.com. All right, and welcome to the Post Pit. I am Tak2, joined by Mushu. So let's talk about the Pit. It was so for those of you who haven't seen it or didn't know that we were putting on a tournament, it was meant to be an 8-player tournament, single deck, best of one between the games, double elimination. So that means players start in a winner's bracket, and they'll play up and win until they get to the finals. If you lose a game, you go to the loser's bracket. You play there until you lose, and if you lose there, you're out. And so the winner of the winner's bracket and the winner of the loser's bracket played each other in the final match. And there wasn't any... and the final match was a best of 3. We kind of changed up that format a little bit, whereas sometimes the winner of the winner's bracket gets a free, quote, game. But we kind of wanted to see a best of 3 there. So that, and we unfortunately only had 7 players. One of the folks had to back out last minute. So we had a game in the winner's bracket and a game in the loser's bracket that were buys for those players. But thankfully it was just one person out. So it really wasn't that big of a deal. But all that to say, there were some really, really fun games to watch there. I had a lot of fun watching some of those games. Again, I'm bringing up that double rag game where he ended up getting the second rag and still lost. It was one of those unfortunate, like, wow, how do you lose a double rag?
The greedy thing was when he played his rag, I think.
Okay.
It's just because that was Avery, wasn't it? No,
it was Avery versus Drakir. Which they, I think it was Avery versus Drakir. And Drakir made it to the...
too many Druids.
Yeah. Drakir made it to the semifinals of the loser's bracket against Xenomonger, when Xenomonger ended up going to the finals as the winner of the loser's bracket. So it was Avery versus Xenomonger for the finals. But I'm pretty sure it was Avery versus Drakir that game 7... I think it was where that play was.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal to, like, the other guy, it was probably just like when he lost his rag because it was a Sylvanas play that lost the rag. And it's just like, they saw the second rag and it's just like, and then he turned it around and won the game. And it's just probably like one of the most satisfying feelings to overcome double rag. Wait, did he overcome double rag? I don't know. It was a long night.
Avery ended up winning that game, and he was staring down 2 rags. I feel like, and we're just gonna say it was Drakir. I'm pretty sure it was him. I remember when we saw the Sylvanas steal the rag, and then we saw Drakir, because I'm pretty sure he top decked the rag when the turn was passed. We were excited, like, we want to see rag. But
now we're just making it like sound unbelievably epic. It's the best turn in Hearthstone ever.
But we now know that
it didn't last for 48 hours, but it was
right.
Good.
We now know that might not have been the best play because he ended up losing, unfortunately.
But that's results orientated. It's like anything that doesn't work obviously wasn't the best thing,
right?
Particularly in a best of 1. It's like
yeah.
It's brutal. These sort of things. I don't know. It's obviously, because we could see both hands, it's like, oh, maybe that's not the best thing to
Sure.
do.
Right.
Obviously, he doesn't have that luxury of being able to see, oh, yeah, no, he actually does have two BGHs in his hand. That didn't actually happen. But yeah, if it was going to, we could have seen it because we could see the hands.
Right.
But there were a lot of, there was also, I found myself a lot of times just like there was a lot of cringing going on. It's sort of like,
There was, yeah, so there's a couple notables. There was it's been so long. It's a whole 24 hours.
I was going to say, it's been like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Long time.
It was the Hunter game where we saw gentleman who's playing the Hunter had a eagle horn bow with one charge left, played 2 secrets, and then hit face with the bow. And it's like, no, because the secrets were Snake Trap and Freezing Trap. And his opponent had a minion on the board, so chances are you're at least going to get one of those if he attacks with a minion. If he attacks into your minion, you're going to get 2 more charges on that bow. And I don't think he lost the game because of that, but that was definitely hurt him big time. It wasn't an advantage by any means.
To provide some context, I think was after the swipe, wasn't it, or something? No, was that was that the game where we like chalked it up to the Hunter tilting because he got swiped or something?
He did. No, that was a different game, but I know what you're talking about. I remember the Hunter in that game was on the top, and the Hunter in the game that we're talking about was on the bottom. So same player, but different. There was a lot
of, for anyone who likes Druid shenanigans, there were a lot of Druid shenanigans, particularly because half the decks brought up Druid.
Right.
Yeah. But it's better than we on Reddit. We had a bit of a swing between it's going to be all face Hunter, it's going to be all anti-aggro decks, it's going to be all Druid. It was half Druid.
It was half Druid.
That was the correct answer.
Everybody was wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But we were right. We got it right. It definitely was better than I thought it was going to be, because I just had these like these images in my head of people just getting like unbelievably cheesed, and they'll go home and like murder their family because someone rolled a 4 on implosion. It wasn't even any warlocks, but
no, I was surprised too.
There didn't really seem to be a huge amount of unfair games, if you get what I mean. There was like, I think when I think about the tournament as a whole, there were no times I was like, he just fucking lost because of like RNG. And the only time that happened in the finals where there's some interesting RNG, but obviously the best of 3 was a little more nullified than in a best of 1, where it's like, you know, heartstrings being pulled left and right.
Yeah.
And there were missed lethals. I think there were 2 really big ones that I got quite excited about.
I forgot what game that was too, but we saw lethal. The player did not see it, and then the next turn he took a really long time to play out his hand because I think he saw it too finally, but he was just counting his Savage Roar Force of Nature combo. But that was so brutal. He had lethal right there. And
the best thing about it is he didn't get punished.
Yeah, right.
Like today, I was watching. It was on at the moment. It's a European event, the LGPL or something like that. Anyway, Lothar was playing against someone who's playing Grim Patron Warrior, and the guy couldn't get all his. He had lethal with all his like patron combinations, but he couldn't get it out in time before the rope burnt. And ended up just putting Grim Patrons into some of his minions, and Lothar was not able to punish him, and then the other guy's next turn went straight to the face. But yeah, that basically there was no real misplays there were no missed lethals that were punished.
Right.
Which was really,
yeah,
that's really what you want to see, because you know it's absolutely soul crushing if you find out afterwards, or I think it's even more soul crushing if you find out after you did it and then you lose.
Yeah,
if you get someone tells you after, it's like, I missed lethal, it's like, what are you talking about? I couldn't see lethal, so obviously you were never going to get it. But if you're like, and I'll click that card there, and then hit. Oh, that's when it's like, that's when you can't get to sleep at night. It's sort of like,
GG.
yeah, JJ. And there were a few times where like there were like they top deck lethal, and I was like, the three was casting. There was one time I remember this, and it's just I was the first one to like figure out that it was lethal. I was like, it was definitely, as casting in the tournament was good fun because there were lots of highs and lows.
Oh yeah,
Lots of highs, and there were some definite lows.
yeah.
Like it was very painful watching people miss lethal. I could just feel it in my like my bones. It's just aches.
Or we saw that Druid play where he had the ability to what did he had? He had a 5/1 shade on the board.
Oh,
And he forced a nature to clear a big minion. So he left a 5/1 on the board. He had himself 2 attack from the Savage Roar. I think I said force of nature. Savage Roar. And there was a 2/2 on. Oh, it was a Piloted Shredder. That's what it was. He hit a 5/5 shade into the 4/3 Piloted Shredder.
Didn't he wrath it? Because it wrathed, and then
no, because he had 2 attack from the Savage Roar. Maybe there was another. Oh, actually,
no, you're right.
There might have been 2 minions. Yeah, there might have been 2 minions on the board, but somehow he had a Piloted Shredder. His opponent did that died.
I remember. I've got it in my brain.
Okay, what
he had a 5/5 shade,
right,
and put it into the shredder.
Yeah.
So he had a 5/1 shade,
right,
and then he Savage Roared,
right,
and
went face.
Instead
of killing the 2/2, it was that Paladin card that gives you a let's look it up real quick. Gives a minion here it is, Argent Protector. Give a friendly minion Divine Shield. Now it just popped out of the shredder, so it didn't get the battle cry effect. But he had 2 attack. He left a 5/1 on the board, and he went face instead of hitting the 2/2. And he was at full health. I think he was at 20. I think he was at 28 or something like that. If it wasn't full, it was really still high.
It's like you want your face against it. If you've been given the opportunity to hit your face against a minion and keep your 5/1 shade, hit him for 2 into the face and lose your 5/1.
Yeah.
But fun fact, Argent Protector, the artwork was recycled from the World of Warcraft trading card game. It was made up the image on the original Paladin hero whose name was Gracchus.
Did not know that.
Yeah,
it looks like is that Penny Arcade art?
I have no idea.
Oh.
That's all I knew. Is like this Paladin standing in like a swamp or something and being like,
I like that
big sword, big shield.
I like that flavor text. I'm not saying you can dodge fireballs. I'm saying with the shield you don't have to.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, so a lot of druids. So there's a lot of Force of Nature Savage combo going on. But we also saw a lot of turns where it was he has lethal, he just needs to pull the other half of the combo. His opponent has lethal, he just needs to pull the other half of the combo.
It was a druid fest, and I for one enjoy the occasional druid fest. And there were 2 druids in the final, and I can confirm a druid won the pit.
Yes, you can. You can.
Spoilers.
That's a good guess.
And there's quite a lot of banter in the winners interview about the druidingness. We were pretty happy with the final 3 games because it went to all 3 games, which was nice because having a 2-0 would be kind of lame after such an epic tournament. Having it blow out would have been really bad. But there was epic amounts of like balance between the 2 sides. Between like there was Wild Growth on one side, the other side had Innovate, and it wasn't one druid gets 2 innovates, the other guy gets Ragnaros Scenarios and something else. It just gets wrecked. It was relatively balanced. It was there was lots of room. It was nice.
Yeah, we didn't just see any. There really weren't any blowouts. Even
not in the finals. There were definitely blowouts though.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like blowouts. I think we had that priest deck that was very unconventional, and I don't think it definitely wasn't a net deck, but it. I think it had a potential. I don't think it could have gone to the finals, but there were some questionable trades from that deck.
It had potential to be a real deck.
Yeah.
I hate like being such like an elitist and being like you have to have these certain cards in this deck, otherwise it's not a deck. But this was too far off the mark. It was evident that it was really just in it for the fun, which is fine.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Free tournament, come play for fun. But yeah, it wasn't a particularly competitive deck. It was definitely a fun deck.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with fun decks.
I think he definitely threw off his opponents though. Watching the games.
Salt, what a crockle is.
Yeah. I really think they were going, what the hell am I playing against right now?
It didn't happen, but I was like praying for it to happen. There was a Light Water, and then there was Inner Fire, and the other card, the Divine Spirit, and that would have been fantastic for someone to get wrecked by like a 10/10 Light Spawn.
Fantastic. Some of the reactions, because not everyone was on webcam during it, but Vanilla Swirl, props to you, man. You had some fantastic facial expressions during the games. I can't wait for this to go live and the VODs go up so everyone can see it. But there were just some plays where he was just kind of smirking, and then you could kind of see the wrinkles on his forehead, like, what the hell's going on? So that's the other half of the fun for me is watching people play.
Watching people on their webcams while they play Hearthstone.
And we've talked about this a little before. Tournaments where the players are in the same room and sit across from each other. I really like that and where the monitors aren't, covering their face, where they can kind of look above them and watch each other. It's just like poker or any other card game. I think there's some mind games and potential strategy there too as well. Kind of picking up facial expressions. Yeah, exactly. Where they kind of mouth like,
I don't have lethal.
Yeah. So for those of you audio format, Matt just made his lethal face.
That was I have lethal. It's just, and if I was sitting across from my opponent, they would know, and then they'd heal, and I'd be like,
yeah.
No, I just made my sad. It was my wow face. Like those times in Hearthstone where you're just like wow. like if you recorded yourself playing for 8 hours and the amount of times you said wow at the computer because of something your opponent did, it would be ridiculous.
Right.
You'd be quite a montage of sound output.
I was raging a little bit this morning at the heroic bosses. Some of that RNG is just brutal.
You are not RNGesus, and he did not bestow his blessing upon you.
No, unfortunately. But we're talking about the tournament.
Yes.
So any other comments, thoughts about any other notable moments that you thought of? So we talked about the hunters, a couple plays there, which the hunter deck did. I think it had the potential to do pretty well. We saw a dragon paladin that wasn't fully dragon
paladin.
Yeah.
So but the only problem there was I don't think he really was under the impression, like basically the date that we had set for the decks to be in didn't obviously it wasn't a rule that said you couldn't put cards that are coming out in, but I think if I was in his position, I probably wouldn't put in cards that are coming out because you don't have any time to play with them. And you wouldn't. I would just assume they weren't allowed. But yeah, so it was basically a dragon paladin with. It didn't have any zero drakes, did it? It was just.
I'm gonna say no. He had consorts, yes.
He definitely had consoles. He might have had an Azure Drake. There wasn't enough dragons to make it worthwhile.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was unfortunate.
It definitely was. I think if it was hosted a week from now, there would have been quite an interesting deck to see how it goes fared against the druid, the army of druids, the 50% of druids.
And my hope was we were going to see a bunch of decks because my first thought was, okay, people are going to do this. This is an open tournament. People are just going to bring Face Hunter for days. We didn't see not one Face Hunter, not one aggro deck, other than a Mech Mage deck that actually did pretty well. But that was the closest thing we got to an aggro deck. And so when I saw the Paladin deck, I'm like, okay. And obviously I didn't share any of this information with the players beforehand, but when they started rolling them in, and I saw how many Druids there were, I'm like, oh, Paladin, that's a potentially good pickup. But it didn't have the right answers. Unfortunately. Yeah.
I think he had one equality, and then definitely came in handy a couple of times.
Yes.
But it just seemed to really suck at taking board because he had 2 Master for battles in there, but no Quartermaster because I assume the dragon. So it was a bit strange because he had like a couple of different like strategies going that weren't quite complete because there was a bit of synergy with the Master, but there wasn't like the good synergy, like, a Knife Juggler or a Quartermaster or something. That was just sort of a 3-drop really with an Abusive Sergeant. Yeah,
this was really a heavy-handed Paladin deck. The only dragons in there were Ysera, and then 2 Dragon Consorts, and then the only other, I would say dragon in cards were 2 Blackwing Technicians, I'm sorry. So you're banking on getting the buff from 3 of those cards. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
but there were a lot of
dragons.
Yeah, but there are a lot of other heavy cards. Oh, and then he had a red and black hand. But we saw at the top end Ysera, Tyrion, Kel'Thuzad, lay on hands, a red and black hand, Dr. Boom, Sylvanas, and Emperor Thaurissan.
He got a good red and black hand off though.
He did get one in the game. Yeah. But
he did then lose that game, but that's not the point. He's the real winner of the pit because he got red and black hand to kill.
Right,
It was Dr. Boom, wasn't it?
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, he should be the real winner of the pit. Screw the guy who actually won. We'll demote him because he didn't go out with style points using red and black hand.
There was some Defil style points there. I just feel like he had muster for battles, but no quartermasters. So the muster for battle fit with the equality a little bit, and he had some early game like Cog Hammers, Abusive Sergeants, Zombie Chow, Shields of Minibot, and he had board clears like Consecrate. So I just feel like there's some cards in there that didn't have enough synergy. I think it was the dragon cards mostly.
Yeah, he was a bit over the shop, all over the shop, as they say. If
he got to the end game and was solid, turn 8, turn 9, and he's full health, got something on the board, I think he would have destroyed. But it's hard to get set up in that position.
Yeah, the only time I can envision him winning a game is coming off. So turn 6 is sort of like an equality consecrate clear, and then his opponent sort of like plays Dr. Boom on turn 7, and then you can run Black Hand on your turn 7 and kill the Dr. Boom and just face the Boom boss. Something like that would have had to happen. Some sort of like strange sequence of events.
Yeah.
That didn't happen because, it was quite unlikely for that to happen.
Yeah. Other than that, we saw a mid-range hunter. Those were some fun games to watch, and a Mech Mage that actually did pretty well for a lot of the tournament. I think that was the only deck other than Druid that made it the furthest. I think he got some bad card draws in that last game he was in.
He ran out of steam.
He did,
as a Mech Mage. When Mech Mages lose, it's because they run out of steam.
Yeah, and
they just run out of things to slap down.
I'm gonna pull his deck up because I don't remember if he had end game like let's see. Your Archmage.
No, there was no Antonitis in that version.
Right.
I think it sort of felt like because he had the micro machine in there, so I think maybe because he didn't have Antonitis.
Yeah, he sure enough. He was running his only end game options were he had a Piloted Sky Golem, a Doctor Boom, and a Rag.
It's not too bad for end game.
No, it's not. It's not.
We're not looking for those post 10 turns.
He had some crap I'm top decking at the end because I ran out of steam, but I mean, and to be fair, not everyone has all the cards, so you do have to play with what you have if you don't have the cards.
We can't be elitist all the time.
No, you can't. You can't. Not at all. I mean, at the end of the day, this tournament was supposed to be fun, so if I hope no one takes away that we're being critical or anything like that. It was just kind of things we notice versus what we see in professional play versus like, screw it, this is just supposed to be a fun time. So, yeah, that was the goal. And I think most of the players had a good time. There was some drama, but I think most of the players had a really good time. I think there were some friendships made, friendships blossomed, things happened.
Two of the participants are actually getting married next week.
They are, yes.
Of that meeting at the pit.
Yes, I'm officiating the ceremony, so I'm not really.
I'm hoping to pick up with one of the bridesmaids, but
okay, yeah,
that's my plan.
That's a solid pickup.
I'll tell her my story about how I won a game where I Bane of Doomed my own Void Caller, and what chanced a 1 in 17 Mal'Ganis to win the game.
And
then that
sweeper off her feet.
We'll be going to my wedding the week after because of that story. That's how good pulling a Mal'Ganis out of Bane of Doom is.
Fan freaking tastic.
Yeah, it's just
Can't even handle it. So I think that's, unless you could think of anything else, I guess that's it for talking about this tournament in particular. Let's talk about future tournaments, and I think this is interesting. I would enjoy listening to someone else talk about it, so we're going to talk about it too, I think. The tournament formats, not just this one, but in general, you know, I decided in this one, and I'm open to discussion on different format versions, but this format was, again, 8 players, single deck, best of 1, double elimination, just to see if we could do it quick with as many players as we could get. So it didn't take up too much time. I mean, it still ended up taking like 5-6 hours to do it all.
Ended up being really long. It's just like, there's a lot of waiting. Anyone who's played an open tournament before knows there's a lot of waiting involved,
right?
Just between like it's just logistics of like games needing to finish, and particularly when because we casted all the games. Like in a standard open bracket, you don't cast all the games because it's just too hard because there's too many of them, right? But yeah, we endeavored to cast all the games, and that took a bit of time.
So that's something I'd like to change. Let me bring up Mushu, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this. But for those of you playing at home, if you've got thoughts, ideas, you know, make them known. Let us know. Again, don't forget you can mail us at mail@deathrattlecrew.com or leave a comment on YouTube or on our website, Twitter. But my fear, and this is, I think I've heard a lot of other people talk about with tournament formats, is if you get these 16, 32, 64, 100, you know, whatever number, and you're not watching you don't have anyone officiating. And I'll preface this saying, you know, no one got any WCS points, or you know, the prize was a gift card, so it's not like this is a big deal. But if there's no one watching all the games, there's no gates keeping people from cheating, potentially. So and the more I think about it, maybe that's something that we don't necessarily need to worry about.
Yeah, I don't think there's like enough like value in cheating.
Yeah.
Until if we had some sort of major sponsor or something, or if there was like some real advantage in cheating, like I guess the biggest thing is when you go and say, all right, you two play, and then like 10 minutes later come back and someone says, oh yeah, no, I 3-1'd him, and the other guy says, no, I 3-1'd him.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where sort of like we would have to put more rules in place. Be like, oh, so you actually have to screenshot your wins and stuff
Right.
like that. So,
Right. Which most tournaments do.
it's a pretty good way to do it, I think.
And I think at the end of this segment, we're going to play the interview with Avery, the winner of the pit, so you can get kind of his take. I mean, it was a long discussion. I need to go back and see how long it was.
Oh yeah, it was like a 40
minutes or something like that.
Yeah, because it was like 10-minute talk about like the tournament, and that's sort of like it just snowballed into like a 40-minute discussion about everything Hearthstone.
Oh yeah, no, we went from talking about his experience in playing in this tournament, what his thoughts were. Then it was the meta, and then it was like tournament formats, things like that. So I think once we're done here, stay tuned and you'll get that whole thing. But he kind of brought up, some players do or some tournaments do this type of use these tools or do this type of thing, and so I'm like, okay, no, that makes sense. Or, make the prizes better, make it bigger so you have WCS points. And so my thought was, oh, that'd be fantastic. Wait a minute. I work, I'm a programmer for a large company here in the US. I work full time, and I've got, some days I work from home some days, but I've got a really pretty long commute to work. So it's not like I don't do this full time. And this was just for fun. And we're not getting paid to do any of this.
What?
So I know.
You told me this money.
Oh, Kappa. So it's kind of like, okay, I see the points, making it, or even getting it so you don't have, like in this, for example, one player wasn't able to show up. That's not what you want. If you're going to spend all this time setting up, you want everyone that shows up. And so that's part of it being an open style, no invitation, and you're limiting how many players are in the begin with. Because this is something I thought of too. If you go to a 16 or a 32 size pool, and people, let's say 10% of them don't show up, it's okay because a bunch of people are just going to get buys. And if you're only going to record the last 4-6 games or whatever, all those players are going to be here. So maybe, just thinking out loud, that might be something that we do is kind of, okay, a couple weeks before you guys, it's a 32 person, you guys play, someone doesn't show up or play, you get a buy, and we'll just record the last 6 games, or however many it'll be. So so we won't talk about formats yet. We'll just talk about maybe number of players and the style of tournament. What do you think? Should we do that? Just open it up to more people, make screenshots or record your games to prove that you won, if there's any disputes, and then we'll record the last, the semifinals and the finals.
Well, I think just opening it up and seeing how many people are interested. I don't have any problem with cutting it down to 8.
Okay.
Because eight felt like a good number, particularly if we're playing like a different format. Like, I don't think people want to play a very long format of something that is non-standard and a bit gimmicky.
Sure.
Which I think it's one of those things where you don't want to overdo it and we'll have 64 players play Highlander or something like that.
Right.
I think eight's fine, particularly if we're not like pulling in big sponsors or anything to boost the prize pool or anything.
Sure.
People like it's going to taper off itself anyway. No one's going to spend no one's going to play like a 128 person tournament for a $20 gift card for first prize. It's just not worth it. Like, maybe if we had like 10 $20 gift cards to give away or something, they might. But yeah, at the moment, it's we're sort of losing out to some of the bigger ones. But I don't think that's necessarily bad. It means we can,
try different things and have smaller tournaments, have like, I guess a more fun orientated kind of thing.
Oh, and that's the thing too, because it's like, okay, let's just go back and let's say, okay, we're just going to do Conquest, and we're going to do Conquest for 8 people. So and it's a best of 5. And then the final game's the best of 7, kind of like what you see in any, House Cups or the Pinnacle, any of those. Just pick the format. So what's the prize? $20 Hearthstone gift card. Are you? That's a lot of investment, not just for me or for you or in the casters. That's even more for the players, because now they're sitting around looking at their watches, waiting to play. Right now, this is just for fun. What can we do? What can we do to make it more efficient? Maybe that's the best way.
Well, more efficient. You cut down, I think, on games that you cast. Like, unless you that was like one of the central mantras, is like you have to cast every game.
We could just not cast the finals bracket. Let's just say we kept it the same. Maybe cast the semifinals for the losers bracket, or I guess that would be the final for the losers, and then cast all of the winners brackets and then the final.
Yeah, that would speed up the tournament as well, I guess, because just obviously cutting down the cast games will, by definition, cut down the amount of time that we're recording games.
Right.
And so one of the big things that makes up times in tournament is running games concurrently. And because we're casting all the games, there was no concurrent games.
There was not, correct. Right.
Because in theory, we can have 4 games playing at once. If we start from the first round of the winners bracket, you can have 4 games going at once. But obviously, you don't really want to do that. But that's the most efficient way. It's just, you could just follow the top track all the way along, and end up with you don't end up casting 5 games plus finals or something.
Yeah, that's
Which
not
shouldn't
bad.
be too bad.
No, I mean, in this one, again, this was the first one we've done, this first Hearthstone tournament I've ever put on. So it was kind of a, let's just do it all. And I mean, so there's a couple things. I feel like maybe if we do this identically the same, maybe we don't cast all of the losers bracket games. So that would cut down, and just let those go on during the time and take screenshots of your wins in case there's any discrepancies. Definitely going to use some online tools, which I started and completely forgot about it. Which this will get into another topic we'll bring up is getting kind of overwhelmed. But but we'll come back to that. Like Challenge or any of those other websites. I had a Challenge post or bracket for this. I just didn't use it. So using something like that, I think, would be good. So we'll go ahead and go into the I guess the kind of the busyness of it. When you see tournaments online, and I knew better, I knew that they've got a lot of staff, like the Pinnacle or the Seat Story Cup, or they've got backing, manpower and somewhat finances to do all this stuff. And we recorded this offline because what I hate when I'm watching the tournaments is, all right, we watch a bunch of games and then, all right, we'll see you in 30 minutes. It's like, no. That sucks. Like, I don't want to sit here for half an hour. Like, bring on the next game. But I know if you're streaming live and they're doing all this pre-production stuff that I'm doing, like right now for it, you need that much time to set it all up if you're trying to make these overlays and transitions nice. And that is something that's difficult to do live and keeping everything going, because you don't know if you set up a transition like I've done with the players' names on it. You've got to put those together and then render them and then throw them on your overlay and XSplit or wherever you're using it. They've got the resources and the manpower that even while a game's going on, they can, kind of edit brackets and do what they need to do for the visuals. Whereas, we don't have that right now. I'm hoping that we get that in the future. But, I'm managing the players. I'm managing the technical kind of what we're recording. And now that I've done this, I see kind of where, okay, some things I can hand off, and some things I'm just not even going to try. This didn't work. I'm not even going to do that. I think at the end of the day, I just wanted something that was polished. My goal, let's say for the next one, I want something that's polished that we can stream, and so it's less of a time investment for the players while they're playing and for us after the fact. Just for example, when I rendered this video and it goes up hopefully tonight, it's probably going to render for about 5 or 6 hours. That's probably how long it'll take before I can actually play it. When I'm done editing. So that's just how long those things take. So if we stream it, who cares? I don't have to render. It's all saved already. You just throw it on YouTube and you're done. I don't know. What are your thoughts on polish? Does it matter to you at all? I mean, I like seeing polish, but
overlays are cool, but you got to like just make sure the central product of just the games are fine.
Sure.
Make sure like the casting is good. Like you don't really need an overlay in game.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely, I think doing it live, doing it as a post production for the first time is probably like was a good idea, but it does so. Definitely lose a bit of its luster in not being live,
right?
Or at least streamed.
Yeah. But I think this would have been a mess if we tried to do it live. I think there was a lot of confusion and on the players' part, like who am I playing against, and trying to get everyone into one place where we can communicate. That was kind of a difficulty because not everyone was in the same place at the same time. So we're messaging people in a personal chat, and it's like, oh god. So that's something I've learned. All players have to be in the same exact social instant message channel if you're going to play, period. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we just can't be so specific on how polished things are right now. Maybe my expectations were above, because I can envision what I want it to look like. It's just it's hard to do in a
live setting.
Yeah, that's not, hey, wait, hang around for 30 minutes while we get this set up.
I think also giving up an element of control is okay for a live setting. Like sure. As long as we just I guess roll with the punches, it should be fine.
Okay.
People should enjoy it.
Well,
and then you can clean it up you can clean up the post-production.
That's true. That's very true. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, we've got several more weeks before the next pit, so we've got time to decide and make some decisions on what we want to do. So, listeners, if you have any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear about it. Again, there's plenty other places that they're not the Pinnacle or Sea-Sword Cup that do tournament formats and then do them successfully, even with a lot of players. But last thing we talk about is format. Do we want to do something other than this single deck format that we did right now? Do we want to do like a Highlander? Do we want to do, like Avery said, which we were going to do initially, was a single deck with a sideboard, kind of a best of three?
I think single deck with sideboard would be pretty interesting, but you have to play best of three. Yes. Like that was the reason why we didn't bring a sideboard for this, because sideboards in a best of one seemed kind of redundant.
Yeah.
But yeah, best of three, you definitely want to. That would be a long tournament, and you could only cast the winner's bracket because otherwise it'd be too long.
Correct. Sideboards scare me. Here's what I want. I want Blizzard, please just make a tournament in-game client thing. Make it a thing.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I think there should be an option in spectator mode, because like for anyone who's used spectator mode, and what you can do in spectator mode is if you're friends with both of the players, you can see both their hands.
Yeah.
But the person on the top end, their hand appears upside down. And I don't know about you, I don't know anybody anyone who's looking down on the table, or looking down on the screen, like from the other side. So the top person's hand being upside down is the most useless thing ever.
Yeah.
Invert the hand. You see every tournament ever, they have like an overlay over the upside down hand so you can see it properly because people don't care.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I don't care if it doesn't have to be like a canon thing. Like you don't have to have it fixed like that. I think like inverting the second player's hand should be a thing.
And I had to do that manually. Like XSplit, I was able to do it. I was able to flip it and reverse it. So they're gonna see the hand the correct way when you watch a tournament.
You lucky bastard.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, just little things like that would be great. But if Blizzard implemented a tournament system in there where it was okay, a player can make a tournament, people join it, you pick your deck or decks that set up so we can have 1, 2, 3, however many decks, and then you're locked. So in that tournament, you kind of like arena. Once you pick your arena cards, you got to either leave the arena and pick again, or that's what you have. That would be fantastic. Because even you could do something like Highlander, where it's, you wouldn't necessarily be able to, maybe not give us an option in game, but you can police it. If someone notices, oh, you played two of a card, well, what the hell, he cheated. So that's not necessarily necessary, but something like that would be just easier. Again, I think maybe I'm just worried about if we only broadcast the winners bracket, the losers bracket, there's a potential for cheating because the players aren't going to know each other's deck list.
Well, we just have someone in there watching the games that doesn't have to cast. It's just
that's true.
Policing them.
So
that's just, it comes back to this issue of manpower.
Exactly. So I think we could do that in the future once we get more folks who want to be involved. So if you want to be involved, definitely email us or comment, let us know. We'd love to have people help out, and if this is a perfect example, I think this is probably what we're going to do is this format and not cast the losers bracket, but maybe have someone with the deck list watch the games to make sure there's no shenanigans going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. Well, any other thoughts or on that or format? Any other?
No, I think leaving it open is nice and leaving it loose as well, I guess.
Yeah.
Make sure it should be good.
Yeah.
Pit number 2.
That's right.
Champion incoming.
Pit 2. So there'll be details on that. I think we're going to give it another week and think about it. So I'll put up next weekend. I'll put up details on the website, www.deathrattlecrew.com. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and so for video and audio formats, you're going to hear the interview we had with Avery, the winner of the pit. It's a good, long, very in-depth interview.
It's a very long interview.
Yeah.
It sort of just spiraled out of control, and we were just like, the end of it was like, holy crap, that was 40 minutes.
Yeah, but there were some knowledge bombs in there, definitely. So
yeah, if you like hearing, well, I suppose if you're listening to this podcast, you probably like talking about the meta, and this was a very sort of like, I guess, in-depth discussion based on, like, I guess the deck the winner played in the tournament and how it does against the matchups on ladder and in the tournament, and how like the game sort of is at the moment. So if that's your thing and you'd like to keep on listening because there's as you said, there's a knowledge bomb coming right at you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So I'll go ahead and start that right now. All right. So Avery, you 4-0'd your way all the way to the finals bracket. I mean, what? So let's start. Why did you pick the deck that you picked and built it the way you did? Let's just start there.
Okay, sure. I went for Druid because I was looking at the format that's a best of one, double elimination. You want a deck that's the most consistent and has the least, how do I put this? The least terrible matchups. So Face Hunter would be a bad choice because, like, if you were to run into like a very aggro-leaning deck, Druid that's very prepared for aggro, or like Control Warrior, you would definitely lose, and you would definitely not do well in a best of one single deck kind of tournament. So it was either going to be Druid or Paladin, and I couldn't find because I play quite a lot of ladder, I couldn't find a Paladin deck that I was very happy with as well. And basically, around the time of registering, I was playing a lot of Ram Druid. This combo, not full combo, like 1.5 combo Mage Druid with Druid of the Flame. And I quite liked it. It had a good chance against Zoo and Hunter because of Druid of the Flame. It is not so clunky because there are fewer combo pieces. It only runs one Force of Nature.
Right.
There's some draw potential with the Azure Drake. So it felt like a pretty strong deck and it had pretty good game against every class. The only problem though is I didn't expect everyone to also go Druid. I thought it'd be more diverse. So the Druid of the Flames are actually pretty terrible against other Druid decks. But they served me well in the Hunter game. So
yeah,
that worked out.
so that's, a lot of people, and we even talked about it in the podcast, was, some people are saying, oh, it's going to be nothing but Face Hunter, or it's going to be all Druids, and end up being half Druids. And we saw
pretty much all Druid.
Yeah, we saw a couple classes that like the Paladin. I thought that was going to give some of the Druids a run for their money, but he ended up bringing a Dragon Paladin. Not
which
your
was
typical,
unfinished, and
it didn't have all the dragons in it. So I thought that at first that might be some problems for the Druids, but the Druids really came out strong, even against each other.
Yeah, definitely.
That was one thing we noticed in the final series is aside from the first game, you guys were pretty even on Innovates and Wild Growth, which made for some pretty good game 2 and 3. I guess you a little bit surprised in the first one when he topped that Savage Roar to finish it.
Well, I was kind of contemplating innovating hero power because he played the Tarusian earlier and it was kind of scary, but I decided it's kind of like a waste, but maybe that would have been the right call because I had the Ancient of Law to heal up anyway. I wasn't so surprised. I mean, the first game was kind of surprising. I was pretty sure I'd lose, actually. Even if the Wreck hit, I was pretty certain he had combo in his hand. The way he played with his we're going face so much, it was pretty clear he had combo, and I wasn't sure I could. I wasn't sure I could keep playing things to delay it. Like I had a low tap, then I had the scenarios, and then I couldn't really law. I had to wreck because I couldn't deal with the 5/5. So it was the second game that I was quite surprised by because he had the Wild Growth, but I had to innovate, and somehow I managed to. I guess he just ran out of things to do, and my draws were better. Probably that's how I took the second game.
There are a few times where we discussed it a lot during the game when he was playing that very sort of, as you mentioned, very sort of face style. And even in the third game, it looked like he when he Savage Raw early and didn't trade for the 2/2 that popped out of your shredder and actually went face. Yeah. And that was the point. That's like where we sort of bookmarked as a game, like that's when it twisted into your favor. So I think your experience is obviously playing a lot of ladder and playing to the point of a Golden Druid is definitely. Do you think it obviously helped you throughout this tournament, didn't it?
Well, I guess I feel comfortable playing Druid. That being said, I don't think my Druid play is that fantastic. Like I played in a tournament just maybe 10 hours ago, and on my Druid, I made so many misplays. It was actually quite painful. But I feel comfortable with it as a class. Like I have no. It's my go-to deck when I want to queue a deck because it almost basically plays itself. But sometimes, I mean, there were certain plays that I made this tournament that I wasn't happy with as well. I think earlier on against the Mech Mage in the first game, there was a swipe, and like I could swipe the Mech Warper or the. Like for the 4 damage target, I could swipe the Mech Warper or the what's it called? The 2 mana 1/2 that gains 1 every turn.
The
Micro Machine.
Mechanic.
Micro Machine.
Yeah.
And I went for the Mech Warper because I didn't want to give them mana lead. And like you look at Micro Machine, like that's a terrible card. But then next turn, and like it became a 5/1, and I couldn't deal with it, and I had to play a minion because if not, I'll go too far behind on board. And I just took so much damage from that one. I probably should have swiped. I just take the risk and just swipe the Micro Machine because I had no way to deal with it in my hand. So
if it makes you feel any better, I'm pretty sure that if you hadn't swiped the Mech Warper, I'm pretty sure there were 2 like spider tanks in his hand. So I think like he had at least a spider tank. It looked pretty. I was like, I'm pretty sure we were saying when you swiped, it's like, oh yeah, it's the hard thing to do, but it's definitely. I think it's the right call. So
that's good,
you're making some good calls, and
The game was very dangerous though. I was on three for most of the game. That was pretty.
Well, that's what I was saying. Is like the mech mage is obviously a pretty good counter to druid, just because of the face and like the obviously you have a little bit of trouble with getting things off the board if they already have board control.
Oh yeah, it's somewhat better with Dread of the Flame again because you can you just can put something down early. The mech whoppers are less likely to stick, so the game is not as snowbally as before. But I don't even think I guess the reason why I played yeah, you're right, the matchup's not that good, and that's probably, but Zoo kind of eats mech mage for a living, so that's probably why you don't see much mech mage on ladder, which is why I haven't had much practice playing against it either. So yeah. Oh well. The Hunter game was pretty bizarre.
That was a really weird game. Like he had the one thing that like was that when Mike, was that when he didn't drop the high main on 6? Was that a different Hunter game?
I think, and Fabio, you might be able to back me up on this. I think that was the game.
I'm looking at my notes right now, trying to find it.
There was a Hunter game. It mightn't have been against you, but definitely there was a point where he could have dropped his high main on 6 and chose to go Knife Juggler Hero Power instead. And we were sort of just sitting here going like, what? what are you doing?
The game where he did the Eagle Horn Bow misplay, where he...
Yeah, with the...
he attacked when he had 2 secrets.
Oh, that was it. Oh, yeah, that was the other one.
I was so surprised.
Yes, so were we.
I had to block it next turn, so... Yeah, it was pretty weird. And no, there was one more weird play where I had Sylvanas on board, and then he went for he just decided to ignore it, which just gave me so much value. And it's not like he had any opportunity to race me at all.
Yeah.
I remember that
He did
play.
that lower set misplay.
Yes.
He gave
I was so healthy and had complete board control and had 16 health or something ridiculous. And he went for this weird unleash play that led me to trade my Sylvanas in and grab the low tap. So, and I was pretty sure no more secrets because I thought 3 of them. So there was completely no risk to that at all. Yeah, that was really weird. I feel like if he brought Face Hunter, us Druids and even the mech mage would have had a much worse run for our money. Like he brought a full Face Hunter with Wolf Riders and Arcane Golems and maybe Leroy. Like that deck is it depends on the Druid draw, but it has a pretty good shot at beating Druid.
Yeah, as soon as you stumble, you're just gone.
Yeah,
and even if you get the draw, it's still not a guaranteed chance because as you said,
definitely.
Yeah, a lot of it just comes from the hand and you're just gone.
And those surprise owls into Arcane Golems and stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's always good fun. Or owl into the hidden kill command. It's fun times.
Or not. Yeah, now it's not even the kill command anymore. Now it's the kill shot. Quick shot, the hidden quick shot out of nowhere. Quick shot into Arcane Golem lethal when you least expect it.
Right.
quick shot into Arcane Golem.
Oh wow, it's the worst.
Such a bad time. But
Yeah. So I mean, Avery, what did you what did you expect these 7 other players to bring? Like, was it Face Hunter? Was that like aggro decks? Was that what you were expecting? Or
I was expecting some Zoo. I don't know. I didn't really put a lot of thought into what 7 other people are going to bring in the best of 1. It was just find a deck that can beat most things somewhat consistently, has the most 50-50 matchups, and I think I can leverage my play to win. I don't want a lot of 80-20s and 20-80s. That's a bad thing to want in a best of 1. So I just went for the 50-50 deck, which is great.
Okay.
And sometimes the games aren't even 50-50. You just get those insane Wild Growth draws. There's nothing they can do to stop you. Turn 2 Wild Growth, turn 3 Innovate Taurusian, turn 4 Sylvanas. The kind of insane draws
it's
that
just,
no one can do.
And game over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely I don't think only Face Hunter maybe can come back. I don't think any other class can come back from that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's just unbelievable.
And that third game of the final series, you had the perfect curve going on at the beginning.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, all on.
This curve is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's curving out so nicely.
And I drew into the Sylvanas as well. That was
and you ended up not even needing to play the Sylvanas.
No, I did.
You played Keeper of Wrath instead, right? Yeah.
And he
I couldn't play the Sylvanas because of Taurusian. If I give him 2 turns, I could be surprise, double savage, raw, lethal or something. So I had to go for the safer play. I really wanted to slam Sylvanas. I think if I had more guts, that would have been stronger. But leaving Taurusian for 2 turns is just very dicey.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
indeed. Especially against another druid. It's just
Yeah, exactly. With
that
the combos and
combos
everything.
get cheaper and cheaper, and then all of a sudden you're dying from 22 health on turn like
Yeah,
7.
like if he gets like a 1 mana Savage Roar, he can like Savage. He can Force of Nature, Savage Roar, Savage Roar. He has 2 mana left to like I don't know, innovate, swipe or something. Like it's just way too much damage to try and prevent. And he looked like he kept drawing his combo every single game, so I definitely wanted to clear it.
He definitely, there were definitely points where, like in the third game, he sort of switched his plan halfway through. Like he was very sort of face conscious. Like he had combo from opening draw, and then sort of around when you played Scenarios, that's when he sort of switched and decided to trade in his Savage Roar to try and clear it. But obviously, I think his only sort of out there was to try and draw into the double combo, because he could have played it because he got the discounted combo because of.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the only really. He changed your plan, his plan, and that's all you had to do is just keep playing and keep doing what you're
he
doing.
couldn't have drawn into double combo. He used a Savage Roar early with his shade, and he didn't attack the 2/2, which let me clear his shade.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
Which was
right.
very-
That was weird.
Isn't it
Yeah,
like it felt just straight up misplay, because if I hero power and eat, I take the same damage that I would
Correct.
from the 2.
yeah.
But I forced him to use 2 mana, so it's pretty strange. But I mean, if he had combo from the start, then his draw was quite terrible anyway. So like he had to find something to work. Maybe I don't know, just like find something to do with his mana.
His starting hand was struggling a little bit. He was a turn behind your curve, but then you kept drawing into the perfect number curve, and he kept drawing into cards that just weren't synergetic together.
To be fair though, the first game he completely had me curve wise.
Yeah,
He had a wild growth and then he had to innovate. That's just how Druid games go. They go back and forth. The second game though, wow. I've been hearing this a lot from people, that the wild growth start can be beaten by the innovate start without wild growth. And I don't really believe it, but after playing so much Druid, it feels to be true. Because if you can curve up, like it's not about who has more mana, it's about who curves out faster. So if you or who lands more consistent sticky threats faster. So if you're the innovate guy and you land like a turn 3 Druid of the Claw, turn 4 Piloted Shredder, turn 5 Sludge Belcher, like even if you don't have the innovate, or you're like slightly 1 turn slower, don't have the wild growth, sorry. Like it's just it achieves the same thing that wild growth would. So
but quicker.
Yeah.
I think the only sort of time that wild growth sort of breaks even with innovate is with shade. I sometimes find that
coin
innovating
shade,
out of shade
innovate.
is not great.
Coin wild growth and then turn 2 shade, right? That's the play you're kind of talking about.
Yeah, and that's like it's okay, but I don't know. It just feels like something like I'd rather wait for turn 2 and like innovate out a shredder or something like that rather than
definitely
go ham for a shade, because as we know, it takes quite a bit of time to ramp up.
Shade's also not very good now. I don't think it's very good. Like especially against Zoo, it doesn't do anything.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just useless. Like which is probably why I went for the like it's part of the reason why I went for Druid of the Flame instead. This card I didn't expect it to be any good, but it's pretty good. It's way better than I thought it was.
Yeah,
definitely.
You made some decent trades with it. I mean, some of those stayed up on the board for quite a long time.
I mean, it's so good because you can force in continuous 2 damage, and like even in Druid, like even if you just burst an incidental 2 into something and then you Wrath to clear the remainder, it stays around for the Savage Roar. So like you can have surprise beetles because that 2/5 is just so sticky. The problem with it against Druid is you can never play it as a 5/2 because of Keeper. The value is just unbelievable. If you play like turn 3 5/2 and you turn 4 Keepers, your guy is just nightmare, which is why you can never do that.
Right.
In fact, most matchups you can't play 5/2. I think like 2/5 is the default mode.
Yeah, I haven't
Priest.
seen it 5/2 yet.
No, Priest. If you play against Priest, you want a 5/2. It's crazy. They can't do anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Most Priests don't run Holy Smite, so
And if they death it, it's just like a pretty big boost to you.
yeah, exactly. Like it's so terrible to death it.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that blows you up would be like in most current Priest decks would be like a Wild Pyro thing. Other than that, yeah, they don't run Holy Smite. They don't even really run Bojin, so they don't run Holy Smite. So even Priest. Just a slight comment. It's really good against Handlock as well as a 5/2, because if they Dark Bomb it, their
Oh.
Twilight Drake gets one smaller, or they can't play their Mountain Giant. If they tap, they just take 5 damage. And then, like, playing a 5-2 completely disrupts their curve. So, like, it has some value there as a 5-2. As a 2-5, it doesn't do anything against Handlock because their things are just way too large, right? But if you play it as a 5-2 early, it really spoils the curve. If you can follow it up after that, like, you can Keeper their first Twilight Drake, you can BGH or Black Knight their first Giant or something. Eventually, like, that 5-2, the damage you got in is definitely going to matter. Yeah. That's the only 2 matchups that I think 5-2 is good. In everything else, is definitely 2-5.
Okay. Yeah, because we talked about that a little bit on the podcast, but we were trying
Yeah.
to we couldn't figure out where a 5, like a 2-5 made sense. And as an arena card, I think it's amazing, but as a 5-2,
Oh, yeah.
where, you know, so it sounds like it's either early, or if you think it's going to be safe behind a taunt wall and there's no removal, that's, I guess, the only other obvious time.
Though, I mean, depends on which classes you're looking at. Against Pally, it's always 5-2. It's the same way that you don't really want to play Shade after turn 3 because of Consecration. Or against Priest, if you play 2-5 and it gets stolen, it's like the dream by a Cabal Shadow Priest. So you kind of have to play it 5-2, even if like a 2-5 would have been better on the board. It's just, yeah. Against Zoo, definitely 2-5. Against Hunter, 2-5. Against Pally, 2-5. Against Druid, I guess. That's the debatable one. It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Early on, 2-5, probably. Late, you can argue for the 5-2. Yeah. Against Rogue, definitely 2-5. You get backstabbed.
Yeah.
Like SI agent. It's just terrible. Against... What other classes are there in Hearthstone? Oh, man. Mage.
There's a shaman, there's a mage, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
It's sort of
against Shaman, against Shaman is greedy to 5-2, right? Like, they have Rockbiter, they have Lightning Bolt, they can Flame Tongue something. And 2-5 is so difficult for Shaman to deal with. Like, 5 is massive for Shaman. They can't handle it.
Got to get a lucky crackle. Yeah.
It's still pretty. It's also really big for mage because like they have to like burn like a fireball or something to get that 5 damage.
Well, that depends on the mage deck. I mean, like,
Sure.
If you're playing Mage, you just ignore it. And if you're playing Freeze Mage, you would probably play it 5-2.
you probably just ignore it as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. But you can't play. You probably play 5-2 against Freeze Mage. That's about it. And against Mech Mage, like you play 2-5 and hope somehow it breaks through your Annoyatron by some magic. Yeah,
some magic swipe or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Annoyatron is seriously, the card's ridiculous. It's just too good for 2-drop in that deck.
Oh yeah,
there's just too many good things going on in that deck.
And that's why we are. Yeah, it's a good thing with all those Zoo heroes coming back to stop the evil mech mages. But
definitely.
So now Druid's viable on ladder. I mean that's a lot of fun, right?
Druid? No, Druid's bad against Zoo. You can't.
It's better than mech mage against Druid though. I would take mech mage versus Druid.
I disagree.
Do you
because
do you not think that Zoo's curves out fast and so you don't think it curves out fast enough to handle Druid? Is that your thought?
No, as in okay, so both Zoo and Mech Mage are very similar decks in that they have a lot of burst. The difference is that Mech Mage eventually runs out of cards. And Zoo doesn't because of his hero power. Both of them have burst as well. The Antonida's burst is undeniably a bit more sustained. But if like for example they get a stealth thing, but that's eventually RNG. On average, they probably get maybe 1.5 or 2 fireballs off the average Antonidas. So then they lose the control of the board faster because they run out of cards faster, right? So in a Druid, if you can outlast the early onslaught, and if you don't get a Mech Warper start, the deck is actually pretty funky.
Sure.
The thing that makes the matchup makes the matchup good is the Mad Scientist into Mirror Entity. But with my version, with Druid of the Flame, with Keepers...
I suppose, you have something to bait it out, whereas the more contemporary Druid doesn't have anything to do. It's just like really bad to play around.
Exactly. So like there are ways to play around the Mirror Entity. But Mirror Entity also is a bad thing because it kind of screws up your draws and your draw sequence as well. So it's not all good. Every card in Zoo, the deck starts faster because everything's smaller and their hero power sustains the threats as they go along. Implosion makes it very difficult to swipe things. Nothing in Mag Mage makes it difficult to swipe. You just use the swipe because like you're never gonna get punished. But when you swipe something early against a zoo, you're just so scared you get implosion and you have no way to deal with it later. So I definitely think Zoo's a worse matchup than for Druid than Mag Mage. I think because Zoo is just a better aggro deck than Mag Mage. So
yeah, it's got a better engine.
The only thing that really blows you out in Zoo in Mag Mage is say you for some strange reason don't curve out properly, don't draw Wild Growth, which means your deck is terrible, and you play a Shade on Extremis, and he RNGs the Goblin Blast Mage and destroys you.
Yeah,
that is completely impossible to come back from. But other than that, the deck's quite beatable. Like if you because you run them out of cards, your cards are inherently 2-for-1s compared to the Mag Mage cards. You play a Druid of the Claw, right? They are not gonna. They have to throw 2-3 things into it to break in. They can't do anything about it. You play such Belcher, they got to throw 2-3 things in. You swipe, maybe you can clear a Clockwork Gnome or something. You Wrath for 1 a Clockwork Gnome, or you with Spell Power Wrath for 1 a Cockmaster or something. You generally get a lot of 2-for-1s, which means that your Ancient of Laws can heal, which get you out of that situation where you die very quickly to a Antonidas. When he Antonidas spare part and just pray it's not say Antonidas taunt, right? You clear the taunt, he has 1 extra fireball. Because you can heal with your Ancient of Laws, because you have a lot of 2-for-1s that allow the cards to keep flowing, you can continue playing Hearthstone. But when you face Zoo, you don't know which to use because you have no more cards in your hand, but you're also at 9, and he has some semblance of a board, and his deck has Doom Guards, and his deck has Boom, and his deck has Morganis potentially, and his deck has Power Overwhelming. It's very difficult to heal, but you kind of need to heal because you're gonna die eventually if you don't heal. But when you draw and then you lose out on that heal because my deck doesn't. Most versions don't even run heal board or I don't know, Healing Touch, whatever weird other heals there are. So that it makes just Zoo is just a very difficult matchup for Druid to handle personally, much more so than Mag Mage because Zoo is just more consistent at deck. Mag Mage has sicker starts. The sickest Mag Mage start is sicker than the sickest Zoo start, but on average, Zoo starts better than Mag Mage. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay.
Which is why now you try seriously go try queuing Mag Mage on ladder when there are a lot of Zoo. There's no way you're gonna win. It's miserable. Zoo's just way too good right now.
I do enjoy the old the Mal'Ganis Void Caller thing at the moment. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm playing that in my Zoo now. It actually helps you win a lot of matchups that you otherwise couldn't win, which is quite cool.
Yeah, exactly. It just gives you a little bit more. It gives you an end game, which is nice to build into Zoo, knowing that sort of on turn 9 you can tap into something useful.
Exactly. I mean, it's not just an end game; it's an out. Against Face Hunter, you have an extra out to win when you're too low. Against Freeze Mage, you have an out that survives your board for 1 more turn. And against everything else is endgame. But against those 2 decks where you do has some problems beating, you have an extra card that just happens to sometimes work because of its invulnerability effect, which is quite strong. It gets clunky though when you're... Yeah? Sorry?
I Bane of Doomed into a Mal'Ganis today against the Face Hunter that I was on 1 HP and as I say, the immunity just saved me and I won the next turn because you can't do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's good fun.
I hate that card though. I really don't like all these RNG cards. They're very frustrating to play with and against. Piloted Shredders, Bane of Dooms. You have to play them because they're good value. Or Implosion. Implosion is the most frustrating actually. You think it's average, you see, with Lightning Storm, it's 2 or 3, so it's 50-50 either way. So when you hit the 2, you're like, fair enough. When it's a Implosion, it's 66.6% higher than, it's 3 or higher, right? So it feels weighted in your favor, but half the time it's 2. So
when you roll a 2, it's just fuck this game, I'm done.
Exactly. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. Especially when you spend your turn 4 doing it, and you try to clear a Piloted Shredder and you have a 2-1 and then you roll your 2-1 plans to clear the thing that comes out of the Shredder and then you roll a 2, you have to throw a 2-1 into the shredder. And like it's just terrible. It's the worst. You have to leave the shredder there after you implosioned it, and you just achieve completely nothing. It's frustrating. This is a frustrating game. I'm not sure why we spend hours and hours playing this game.
It's like, I hate this game because it's such a dumb game. I hate this.
Exactly.
You obviously played enough to be experienced enough to win tonight. So I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I'm not
I'd say
glad
that's
that
what I say.
I'm not glad that I'm down this path of playing this game so much. It really, like, there's some nights where you just can't go to sleep because you're so mad at something that happened.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
The tilt is really real. It's just
Yes, it is.
especially like I'm currently sitting at rank 1, and like that was a grind today. Like I lost like 5 games in a row and went back into like 2-star rank 2. It's just like, nah, fuck this. I'm just gonna go break my computer and kill myself. But yeah.
Oh, dude, you don't know how many times I have been like at rank 2 at say maybe 10th day of the month, and for the next 2-3 days I proceed to drop to like rank 7,
Yeah.
and I have to climb all the way back to 2 again, and then it's ladder's miserable. I have a lot of friends who are actually really good at Hearthstone, but they play only tournaments. They don't bother with ladder because it's just not worth the grind. They practice playing like scrims with other good players, and they only play in online tournaments. They rarely play on ladder. The ladder is just for like some slight practice when no one's available, because it's really not worth the time. You don't get anything out of it.
No,
And it's so hard to hit top 100 legend.
Yeah, unless you're gonna put the actual time in to get like a good amount of time in to tangibly get a top 100 legend, then and even then, if you pick wrong with the deck, then you're pretty cooked
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. But the beauty of ladder is that you can get everything back if you pick the right deck in the right like half an hour window.
Yeah.
Like if in a half an hour window, like everybody's freeze mage for some bizarre reason, and you happen to be control warrior, you can easily hit from like 1000 rank, like 1002. You can easily hit top 100 in there like half an hour to 45 minutes.
I do wonder if there's a correlation. If you could have like 10 streams up on like Twitch streams up on the screen, see what everyone's playing, and then try to figure out, all right, what's the best counter to most of these decks. I do wonder if there's a correlation to that.
And try to save time that way. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think it's Twitch streams, not so much. It's more tournaments streamed on Twitch.
Okay.
That's the one that has a humongous impact, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if y'all were playing ladder maybe like a week ago at the Via Game House Cup, when have you seen so many mech shamans on ladder?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Until that like 1-2 days after the art team Archon debuted their mech shaman that actually didn't even do that well, because like there's so many games that Doomsayer just wrecked its own deck because it just milled itself out. It didn't perform that well, but everyone just went to play it, right?
Yeah.
And then Firebat wins Gfinity last week, and everyone's playing fracking Zoo and Freeze Mage because that was the two of his three decks in his Conquest lineup. And it's like, yeah, it's the
you know
same
what deck's
thing in
really
League,
good on
it's-
ladder right now? Grim Patron Warrior.
Yes.
The deck is insane.
Yeah.
I switched to Freeze Mage, and I went like 8-4, 8-3 or something in like 20-30 minutes because it was all Patron Warrior, and Freeze Mage has a pretty good matchup against the Patron.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
definitely.
amazing against that deck. Yeah.
But like that deck is insane. In the right, it feels like Miracle Rogue pre-Gadget's End nerf. If the deck is in the right hands, no matter how bad the matchup is, it always stands a very good chance. If you know how to like queue your pick your spots to Warsong Commander or pick the spots to Grim Patron. If you can if you have the guts to pull off a Green Patron turn 5 with a Death Bite just to smack and get the second Patron, and like if you're good enough to know that there's a good chance of it living in that situation, right? The deck is definitely for you. The problem with the deck though is that it takes way too long. Like you can't calculate your Frothing Berserker OTKs at all because the animation is just way too slow. There was the one night I decided to try to play that deck, I lost I think 6 to 7 stars on ladder. I think out of 7 of those games that I lost in a row, 5 of them I had lethal, definite lethal, but the animation was just too slow because I was kind of counting, but I wasn't really counting because the numbers were too complicated, and I rope and then start playing things and the last Grim Patron attack and he's on 3 health and then he lightning storms me and I'm on fatigue and I just concede because I can't win. Yeah. Just weird. The deck is really difficult but really strong. Like it's I think to me, it's the new miracle rope of free gadgets, and the deck is insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
They just need to shorten the hey, get in here kind of
Oh yeah.
just make it once. Just
Yeah,
once. you know?
everyone.
Yeah. We don't need 6 of them.
Everyone.
It's quite funny.
turns
though.
over.
It's a good flavor word. What do you call it? What do you call the thing when the sound the guy makes? What's the official word for that?
You say flavor of
sound.
the month or type
Or like,
Because on Magic
he-
cards,
he-
you got
he means,
flavor text, right? But
yeah.
He means as
Flavor
opposed to the
sound.
flavor text that is on the card. The
Yeah.
thing
Yeah,
it
yeah.
says when you play it.
yeah.
yeah,
know.
I guess flavor text would be it's pretty good. It's really funny. It makes
It's-
sense.
it's good.
Well, Avery, thank you for showing up and doing this interview with us, and congratulations
no
on
problem.
winning. So, are you streaming at all, or where can people find you if you're looking for people to find you? Do you stream at all? Are you on Twitter or anything? Or
Okay, I don't stream. I don't have a Hearthstone Twitter, but I do. Okay, so I'm from Singapore.
Okay.
And we had I'm part of this website that tries to generate content as often as we can. HearthstoneAlley.com.
okay,
My contact details and everything are on that site if people are interested. We do events locally, which I guess is not the right audience here because most people watching this would be American. But yeah, if you want to check out some articles, HearthstoneAlley.com. That's the site.
okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah,
And so
sounds
you
good.
you don't stream yourself; you stream the events, or
Yeah, I've been starting to cast the events that the site does.
okay, cool.
Yes.
All right.
Mhm.
Well,
Trying to get the local community involved and
sure.
stuff. It's quite exciting.
Sure. Well, again, Avery, congratulations. We'd love to see you back again as a winner. You're welcome back to the next tournament. And I've got
Will it be
your
the same format though?
we're going to
Just
talk
thinking
about that.
about it.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we're not,
TBD.
and it's not because we think that this format was necessarily just kind of garbage, because it's, I mean,
I like
it's
it,
different.
actually.
It's different than the picking 3 or 5 decks.
Yeah.
And so I wanted it to be quicker and a little different because everyone else is doing the 5 or 7 decks. So we've talked about just keeping it single deck, but doing maybe a single deck and do the, I don't know if you're, a Highlander. Yeah.
Oh, Highlander, young
Yeah.
Highlander.
The Highlander deck where it's only one of a card.
I played
in
in
a deck.
one of those tournaments.
Okay.
ESBU organized.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Highlander Commander. So it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like EDH for Magic.
Right. Exactly.
Just
So-
that everyone will pick the same 3 to 4 legends if they want to win.
Right,
But,
and I know there's different versions of that. Like I know some people run those tournaments and they only allow you to have 1 legend in the deck. Some do 2, some do 3, some do more.
oh sure.
But
Oh yeah, the tournament I played only allow you to run 1 legend. It's actually really, really, really fun.
yeah,
Which is one good thing about it. But it makes the casting quite pointless because you're just watching fun things happen, right?
right,
So
right.
they're just kind of oh, what's gonna happen here? Oh, Avenging Wrath and into a Full Reaper. Wow, that's awesome. There's not much competitive commentary going on, which makes the casting a bit more pointless. But
Bit
if
more
you're
casual, maybe also.
yeah, it's very casual. But
It is. Yeah, it's a lot
way
more
more fun to
casual.
play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another format you might consider, because Magic's quite new, so everyone's kind of figuring out what's the best format. You can do the one that Magic did, which is single deck, but between games you are allowed sideboarding, so you can swap cards.
So here's the thing. We actually talked about that. Like a couple weeks or maybe a month before we started it, we talked about having a 3-card sideboard.
Yeah, it was our original plan.
See, my fear was, and I think this is great for the tournament as we talk about it. My fear was, all right, if we going to have to limit the number of people we have because of the length? Because I mean, for example, we've already gone. I mean, we're catching up on 6 hours, and I told everyone it was going to be somewhere between 3 and 6 hours for this to go through.
Sure.
But so if we have a best of 3 and do a sideboard, we're gonna have to kind of limit the number of people that are in, and that might make it easier to kind of host it. And this isn't live per se right at the moment, and part of that is so we don't have people ghosting and cheating, even with a delay, which I think we do, and I'd like to do this live eventually. But yeah, so I
It'll take too long, basically, if you were to run a sideboarded event.
it's almost like
Yeah.
I feel like we have to do like a 4-person tournament.
I think as organizers, maybe you might want to think about not casting every single game.
Sure.
This is what makes the tournament really long, right?
Right.
But the problem is that it's hard for the tournament to gain a lot of exposure if A, the prizes are not ridiculous, or B,
Sure.
you can't get Hearthstone points, right?
Yeah,
And
correct.
a good example would be like, I won't name it because that would be like free publicity, but there happens to be a tournament that runs on American Tuesday nights that are just run by common folk who are not pro players,
Mhm.
right? They're not like anybody special. They're not like very famous casters or whatever. And the tournaments regularly get 200 plus players.
Sure.
And the field is very, very, very strong. And the only prize they offer, Hearthstone points, cup points, because people want to qualify for the World Championships.
Right.
And if you can like allow the open, like you all guys figure like organize a tournament and get an open tournament going, where you pick, say like, I don't know, you ask around and find notable players, and like if you find a good match between two like notable players, like the you find good, like you just watch specific matches and cast specific matches rather than having to go through every single one, because it's I kind of had to wait really long to play my games.
Sure.
Right? So,
It's kind of like
and,
how the big poker tournaments handle it.
Right.
Like they've got tons of people as well, but they only have
definitely.
only ever have like 1 or 2 matches that they're actively spectating.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Right.
Like 1 or 2 tables, and they jump around tables and stuff when they want to. Yeah.
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 I mean, and the good thing about a big open, where you don't cast every game, parts of the tournament where are moving along quickly, they can handle themselves. Like, you say like 1 hour per round, and after the hour, but then once people are done at half, like if both sides of the matchup are done at half, and then they can just play each other next, so the whole game just moves along very quickly and smoothly.
Mhm.
And when you open up to like Hearthstone Cup points, then naturally the players who come will be players interested in World Championships, and these
Sure.
players will naturally be like pretty strong, because if not, they wouldn't even bother with World Championships, right?
Sure.
So and they know how to handle themselves because they've been playing tournaments forever. So just generally the whole experience will improve. And if you can like stream it live, then like that would be amazing, like,
Sure.
definitely.
Sure.
Just stuff to consider.
Oh, absolutely. No. And again, this is the first one we've done. And this is the first tournament I've ever hosted, or
Oh,
I guess we've ever
that's cool.
hosted. So it's been a learning experience. There are a lot of things I've already said. All right, I worried about that. I didn't need to worry about that. I didn't even think about this. That would have been, great. And then there's a couple things I completely forgot about. It's like, I have this tool. Why am I not using it? So, yeah,
Cool.
a lot of. I mean, we had fun watching you guys play. So at the end of the day, I think that was the payoff. I mean, for me personally, anyway. So
Oh, definitely.
yeah.
It's fun casting, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, Avery, thank you very much for joining us. And good luck. And hopefully we'll see you next month.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for everything.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
And that's our show for this week, episode 12. Thank you for joining, listening, having a good time. Again, if you haven't watched The Pit, go to YouTube and look, search Death Rattle Crew. You'll find The Pit 1 there. It was a really good time watching it. There's some highlights, some lowlights. So just a good time.
All
overall.
kinds of lights.
All sorts of lights, black lights.
Strobe lights. Street lights.
Street lights? Okay. Ren Black Hands.
Yeah.
I mean, the best. Come on. So don't forget, you can send us emails at mail@deathrattlecrew.com. Again, I gave you YouTube, Death Rattle Crew. Twitter @Death Rattle Crew if you want to comment. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or any of your podcast catchers of choice. If you are not able to find it on your devices, let me know and I can take a look and see it about getting it on those devices. So again, I'm Tac2, Mushu. Thank you for joining.
No problem.
And we'll see you all next week. I think I'll make some crack about Tom being dead, we think.
In a ditch.
Maybe I shouldn't, because if he's dead, FBI is going to be after my ass.
It's a coincidence. How did you know he was dead in that ditch? I didn't know where the ditch was. Killed Tom Soup before he could hit legend. A man shut down in his prime.